area where you press play on the Okay. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our study session today. Today is Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. It's 4:16 p.m. We're convened as the Provo City School District Board of Education. We're meeting at 280 West 940 North in Provo, Utah. We're going to begin our study session today with a roll call. I'm Rebecca Nielsen, Board President.
Jessica Partridge, Vice President. Melanie Hall, Board Member. Lisa Boyce, Board Member.
Meg Van Wagenen, Board Member.
Gina Hales, Board Member.
Terry Kincaid, Board Member.
Evan Daly, Business Administrator.
Wendy Dowd.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who's joining us today in person and online. We're excited to actually have an audience today. This is kind of fun.
I love it.
All right. Yeah, I love it. Okay, is there a motion to convene our study session?
I move that we convene our study session.
Thank you so much. Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Partridge. We're now in study session. And we'll go ahead and start with our first item, which is a board handbook training, and that will be given today by Board Member Terry McCabe.
Oh yeah. Okay, so it's page 17. And I'm going to go out of order because I wasn't sure. Quorum is on there, the definition of a quorum, which is 4 out of 7 board members need to be there. And I think it's out of order. I think it needs to go back onto page 15 at the beginning of the board meetings. So instead of in the middle of all the meeting definitions, it kind of is in a random place. So unless you want to put it down at the bottom, at the end of the list of all the meetings that we have, or at the top, that would make more sense. Yeah.
Melanie and I are getting together tomorrow to actually start this process, so this is good, thank you.
And then also, we just updated the electronics meeting policy 1420 last month, so that's convenient. You can put a link in there. Here's the link to that policy. And then hearings, I think there needs to be an actual definition of what a hearing is versus a board meeting versus a study session versus all the other things that we have. Why is this different than any of the other meetings? I mean, it gives an example of truth and taxation and a bonding, but there's also boundary changes hearings. There's a whole bunch of other different, I don't know if we want to give one example or give all the examples.
Or maybe just link to the state law or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was my suggestion. That's it.
Great, thank you so much.
Are we renaming board retreats?
That's not my job. That wasn't on my list of to-do.
Oh, yes, we are. Don't you worry about it.
I would like to make a recommendation that we just call it an all-day meeting.
8 a.m.
Whoever's next on the list of board training probably gets that job. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, our next item is student travel requiring board approval. We're going to give this time to Wendy.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Who wants to go first? Oh, I'm just going to do it based on what I have listed here. So I'm going to have Provo High School indoor percussion. You guys ready? All right. You guys want to give us Devin, you want to give us a synopsis of what the trip is, and then they're going to ask you some questions probably.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. You got to go to the front, man, where YouTube can see you. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
We're going to put you on the spot.
Okay. I'm not sure where I'm trying to be in frame.
That's where we want you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. So, Provo High School and Timpview High School have been working together with our indoor percussion program for about 3 or 4 years now, where we collaborate between the two band programs. And I host it at Provo High School. Each year it's about 2/3 Provo students, 1/3 Timpview students, and we've been competing in the Utah circuit. And then last year we added a WGI regional competition to see how we kind of square up against the other competition in the Mountain West. And this year we are applying to go to Southern California for the Power Regional. This includes basically everyone from the Pacific Ocean out to about the Mississippi River or so that are trying to compete on the national level and see where we scale up. And then also this is a chance for us to watch some of the peer level groups that are competing at a national stage, as well as the semi-pro and pro groups that are competing with typically like college age performers, and see like how their development has gone. This has been a progression of about, I'd say about 3 years now with the same staff. We've only had a couple people change over, and they've been building up to this for a while. For the trip, we would head out Thursday morning. We're taking buses to help keep the student costs lower. If we flew, it would cost about an extra $300 to $500 per student. We're trying to keep that cost low. So we're going to drive out Thursday. Then Friday we rehearse and we see some sites there in Southern California. Then Saturday, Sunday is all-day competition. Saturday's the qualifier, Sunday's the finals, and then Monday morning we check out of the hotels and book it back to Provo. So it is a 3 days out of school that I'm requesting, mostly because if we pull that Friday out, then the kids won't have a chance to practice between Tuesday night and then their competition Saturday morning. And if we tried to rehearse at night, they would have been on a bus for 14-ish hours, and then rehearsing from 10 until midnight, then waking up and competing at 10 a.m. And so I really feel this is the best opportunity for them to travel safely, perform safely, and maintain a healthy quality of life on the road. Any questions? Yes,
So
ma'am.
this takes both Pro High and Tempe students?
Yes.
Fantastic, that's great. I noticed that it says there's 0 for transportation and lodging, and then it just has a total. Is that just because everything's lumped in because of the tour group?
Correct.
Okay.
So our travel agent, he gives us one price per student for everything.
Okay. I
sent an updated version of that if you'd like to jot some of this down. It's roughly about $400 for transportation,
Okay.
$400 for lodging, and then $200 for food.
I believe there's an update, if you keep scrolling.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
at the
looking
bottom,
at, I'm
there.
looking at numbers down at the bottom.
Oh, sorry, I didn't
Yep.
look all the way to the bottom.
Yep. My apologies for not getting that in on the first submission.
But I do have another
Yes, ma'am.
question. Are there going to be fundraising opportunities for kids? Because it does say 0 for fundraiser. So are you going to be able to allow kids the chance to fundraise for it?
Yes, we're not requiring fundraising to go on the trip. So some kids will just opt to write the check up front and just pay for it. Some kids will need and want to fundraise for that. We are doing a holiday roll fundraiser through Texas Roadhouse coming up in October and November. We also have our annual mattress sale that'll be contributing towards that trip. And then we're doing another concessions style event around the beginning of the year. And we're looking into hosting an indoor competition at our school, which usually nets host schools anywhere from about $5,000 to $10,000 towards the trip, which could bring that total cost for everyone down significantly.
Can you let us know about the Texas Roadhouse?
For sure.
About the one, Texas Roadhouse shows for that fundraiser.
They're really good rolls.
They are.
Yes, ma'am.
Your most recent trip, it says, is November. Is that the November that's about to happen, or
Mhm.
last November?
Yes. So our we, as a band program, we've had 2 trips. The most recent one was the Wind Symphony trip to San Francisco back in April. The closest one to this group with indoor percussion will be the state marching band finals coming up in November. And we've done that every year as long as I've been here, and not COVID, where we go down to St. George for a night, compete, and then come back up the next day.
Okay. And then have you traveled with just these percussionists?
With indoor percussion, we have not done an overnight trip before.
Okay. And how many of the students went on the Wind Symphony trip that are part of this group?
I can't give you an exact number because again, about a third of those students are with Tentview High School, either with their orchestra tours or their band tours. But I would say nearly all, either with the Provo High Wind Symphony most recently, Tentview's orchestra tour just last year had about a half dozen students. Correct me if I'm wrong, colleagues. About a half dozen students that are in indoor percussion, and so most of them have done this before.
Okay. How do I think as a board, our hardest decisions are we want to give students opportunities, and I love that this is a great competition to kind of help them go to the next level. But also our parents are, every time we travel, it can be a big expense.
Mm-hmm.
So have you had a meeting with the parents? How are they feeling about that expense?
That was the one question mark we got in our parent meeting. Was there several folks, yes, we want to do this, and then additional comments of, it depends on how expensive it is, and that's why we targeted doing like catered food on the side as opposed to having our tour organizer put it together for us, because we can keep that cheaper per student. Sometimes we're getting $6 to $10 per student. We have options to get it for $4, so we're doing that to keep that price down. Same thing with taking the buses. If we were to choose to fly out perhaps Friday, even if we went Friday after school, we're looking at nothing less than $300 per student more, and so we're doing what we can to keep that cost low. I think other opportunities as far as our Friday other sightseeing stuff, we're all doing public free stuff, so you can walk in, see it, hey, cool, and then go to rehearsal instead of charging $40, $80 per kid to go see something.
I just had a question, because I could have looked this up and I didn't, but I'm going to assume that a lot of these kids will also want to go on an orchestra or band tour with their school. Is that true? Depending on if their school is also traveling.
Yes.
And so the timing, I guess, besides the expense, just the dates, right? Like, how do those tour dates line up? I should have pulled that out by myself, but that's just a thought I just wanted to think about.
Are you worried they're going to overlap?
A little bit, and also if they've missed 3 days in a term and then they're going to miss 2 more days for another week in the same term, I'm just thinking about that.
It says chamber orchestra Timpview to Anaheim to February to March, and then percussion is the end of March.
So at least it's a different term, right?
Yeah,
It's the next
it is.
term.
Yes.
That's great. That's what I was just trying to
Yep.
Thank you. Yep.
Also
Yeah,
not the
back.
same.
We
Not
will
the
have
same.
overlap with the orchestral percussionists.
Okay, great.
and-
There you go. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Provo High indoor percussion?
I think it's awesome what you're doing.
Thanks.
We did for these kids.
We already approved it. Yes, we double checked on all the fees.
I do have one more question. So you said it's the first time doing anything with this group, right? After doing it 1 year, is this going to be something that is going to be an expectation? We're going to go to this every single year, or it would be once every few years?
As I've worked with the staff, we're looking at, we would not be able to feasibly do this every single year, but we're trying to build up eventually to taking them to the nationals, which is a whole nother application of things to do down the road. But we were looking at doing this about every other year to help keep those family costs more manageable, while also mitigating time out of school and also building up, because every year kids graduate, we got to get ready for the next trip, and feasibly, as far as developing kids and in some cases developing funds, it'll take more than 6 months.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, next. Whew. Dun, dun, dun. Provo High School Dance and AP Art. And if you guys will introduce yourselves too, that would be helpful, so that'd be great.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn Smith and I teach dance.
I'm Lindsay Reese and I teach the AP students art.
Okay, our trip is kind of a follow-up of last year where we did Art in Motion, where we team up in the fall for the Art in Motion concert. So the AP students are collaborating with the dance company to pitch proposals, and they'll do collaborative pieces. And we usually choose a major museum within the U.S. to kind of base those works off of. So last year we chose the Met. And so the culminating experience for these students is then to go to the museum to see the original pieces that they based their work on. So we did that last year, super successful. So this year our major museum is the Getty, that's in LA. So that's where we're basing.
Oh, that's
all the work.
nice. I was there.
Yes!
Yeah.
Which is really great. And the Getty has 2 sites that are in LA. So they have the Getty and then the Getty Villa. So the students are right now in the collaborative process for that. So that's kind of where this is coming from, the reason we're going to LA. The trip entails we leave with our travel agency. I'm trying to think where to start. We pitched this to 2 different travel agencies. We went with the lower bid. And then we decided to cut off of a day. So we're not traveling on Thursday, we're traveling, not Wednesday night. We're traveling on Thursday morning to save hotel for a day. So that we'll do Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We fly back Sunday morning. And during that time, we're doing workshops and we're kind of splitting off. So dance will do their workshops. I'm taking the art students and doing the workshops myself. Versus hiring a group to do it. So we'll do some on-site art making at the Getty and other things, and then we both have scheduled workshops through Disney. So with their imagination, the Imagineers.
So that's the Disney day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So there's workshops. It's not just a full play day. There are workshops related to art and dance that day.
But even within the
the play of the day. I encourage the students, like, we're all gonna go look at this parade. Look at what the performers are doing. Is this something you're interested? Can you do that? What if you were the choreographer? How would you do this different? So there's still like elements throughout the play, and education is fun. Like, that's how we learn and grow through the play. I'm a big believer in that.
And then we'll do the animation studio as well. Like they have an animation piece there in California Adventure too. And we backed down and didn't do a park hopper, so we're trying to figure out ways to just reduce it any way that we can.
Yeah.
To get that fee down.
So something that was not in the submission was the parent approval form feedback. We have the numbers now. So there are a total of 33 potential students that are invited for this trip, and we had 30 parents respond. So 1 was missing from mine and 2 were missing from art. But out of the 30 responses, 28 of them are approving and sending their child on the trip, and then 2 are approving of the trip but not sending their child. So that's a 93%. Like we're interested. We're okay with this price. We would love for our dancer or art student to go. And then I have a follow-up. A board member had asked a few questions, and I got the response from our travel agent. So one of them was, why is there about a $350 difference between our trip versus the trip a Timpview group is going on the same weekend, the same days and whatnot? Why is ours more expensive? And our travel agent said, well, their clinics are around $80 per person, and ours are approximately $180. Their musical is cheaper that they're going to attend, and ours is a little bit more expensive. But I think the biggest one that makes the largest difference is the ratio of students to comps is higher. So when we rent a bus, we still have about 10 seats or so empty, but the bus rate is a flat rate and you gotta pay for it. So the fewer numbers that we have is making our trip a little bit more expensive than, let's say, their trip. And then their buses, oh yes, there we go. And then she mentioned they're doing Disney on a Friday, which is a cheaper on that day. And we're on a wait list to be on the Friday, so there is the potential of cutting the costs. So the $1,430 is the max that we will ever charge the students for this trip, but we're always brainstorming ways of group fundraisers to help lower that cost and offset even lower. So one of the fundraisers we have in mind is our Art in Motion concert. A portion of the ticket sales will help offset some of these costs. We do individual fundraisers. We're hoping to sell pies with our fine arts department again. There's the art show.
Yeah, there's an art show opportunity for kids around Christmas. They can go and set up a booth with their own things that are collaborative, like that's Alpine School District and us. Go down into the startup building, so there's opportunities for kids to sell their work. And we've considered doing like an art auction at the concert for the students, so each student produces pieces, so they can also
and an original work
by
right? Yeah. And then like amp up the cost. It'd be good.
Any questions for Jocelyn and Lindsay?
Yeah.
My only question was around the number of chaperones, because it said 3, but as you were discussing, which is great for 24 students, but as you're discussing like maybe separate days of activities, like
we actually have 2 and 2.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. I feel like it'd be better if you had 2 in each group, but I don't know.
Plus 1 administrator.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that was my only question.
So there'll be 5 chaperones.
Perfect.
And then we'll divide, and she will choose which group she goes with.
I have 2 questions. So first one is approximately percentage or number, whichever is easier for you. How many of the students that went last year on the New York trip would be coming potentially this year?
I have 6.
I have 9 that would be joining us. So in total,
So
15 went to New York, and then 14 would be new this year. So about half.
Yeah. Okay. And And then when I first started to look through the materials and I saw last year you guys went to New York and the cost of that, I was like, oh, okay, so they're gonna go to California, so we went to like a bigger
East
trip.
Coast,
Now it's gonna be
West
a smaller
Coast.
trip, less expensive, but the cost looks like it's about the same.
Yeah, it's
Do-
75. It's only $70 cheaper, unfortunately. So, oh man. Yeah.
Again, like I mentioned with the last group, I'm just concerned about what that does for families, and I'm trying to remember the policy number. I was looking at it and I can't remember, but when we updated our student policy, we had talked about maybe that 1 year was more and one was less, but that's not actually in the policy. Okay. I think it would be a good practice to have that there's not an expectation that, oh, if I'm going to be in AP art or in dance, I'm going to have to every single year come up with $1,500 to travel. It's an awesome opportunity, but I do worry about the financial burden that it is. So
It's true. And we always, at least I'm a big believer of always keeping it as this is a choice, this is an option. You do not have to come. We're not requiring, there's no, like, we don't bring a performance, right? We're not setting like tracks or routines, and the routine is now ruined because you can't come. Nope. We only do workshops. This is like choice. So I have some dancers opting not to do this year. Anyway, but yes, I agree. I'm frustrated with how just economy in general is blowing up. And it's just,
I think one of the things that
it's
becomes
hindering.
difficult for our advisors to balance is that when we're only allowing them to miss 2 school days, then it's forcing them often to fly rather than to drive. And if we could do buses and they were given that opportunity, I think that's what Devin's kind of going off of. So it might be something, you know, that if you're leaving at 3 o'clock or at 2 o'clock and you're riding a bus, I don't know, it does get hard.
And the
we have
buses
to do
aren't
that
cheap.
every year.
Yeah.
The students who aren't coming, is it because of cost? Do you know?
They said they approved the trip and the fee, their students aren't going this year.
Okay, so we don't know if it's good.
Yeah, we don't know. I think one has like a prior commitment. They already had like a cruise set up, or another family, or perhaps they're wanting to do another trip that the school's offering with a different group. But I don't know that answer.
Any other questions? Okay, before you sit down, I just wanted to say I loved last year's video dance art compilation, or what do you say, collaboration, that's the word I'm looking for. And it won an award, or got recognized. Tell us really quick.
It did.
Give us the 10-second version.
Okay, that's like really amazing. I submitted my own personal video. I didn't even get selected, and that's okay. But I am happy for my student. So the Utah Dance Film Festival is a very prestigious festival. The curators do really well at, they have hundreds of submissions from all over the world. And Emma and Emmy's piece was selected in the student category, which is a really big feat on its own. And then when we went up to Salt Lake to participate in the festival, it was such a treat to watch their work next to some of these really like profound films that had way bigger budget than what we worked with. And it was neat because afterward they asked Emmy and Emma to do a short Q&A, and they presented themselves with class and professionalism, and it just was a super great experience.
That's awesome.
It was really great.
Well, congrats on that. That's exciting.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Shoreline Middle School, Boston Travel.
Hello everyone, I'm Carol Gaylord.
Tommy Hershey, principal at Shoreline.
So this will be hopefully our 5th adventure to Boston. We've started alternating between Washington, D.C. and Boston. And it's all about the history, all the things that the kids can experience when they're there. So our plan is to spend a day in Plymouth, a day in Lexington and Concord, and they get to see the Battle Road, they get to see where all those things happened. We spend 2 days on the Freedom Trail in Boston, so that's a lot of sights specifically about Revolutionary War primarily, but there's a few other things, War of 1812. And then we take an adventure to New York. It's a day trip to New York. The purpose of that is kind of twofold. One is all about 9/11, and we just felt really strongly about the kids needing to experience that museum and the memorial, which is just amazing. And then we also visit the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, talk about how we're a country of immigrants, etc. It is a full packed trip. We keep the kids busy, busy, busy. We use public transportation to get us everywhere, so they get really good at being travelers. We spend time up front preparing them, so once the students apply for this trip, it has nothing to do with a club or anything. They apply because they want to go, and they're selected based on their submissions. We have a rubric we score everything with, etc. And then once they're selected, we work with them about every other week to prepare them for the trip, and so they learn about the places they're going to see and why it's important, why it matters in history, etc. What questions do you guys have?
I feel like we're all fairly familiar.
Need
I was just going to say,
chaperone.
this is not a new one. Jennifer, oh. Okay. All right.
Anybody have any questions?
I do. I'm looking at page 5, and it says students will report to Dixon Middle School.
Oh heavens, I will fix that.
That's correct,
Yeah.
Mary.
Is that on the itinerary? What page is that?
It says travel plans.
Oh, oh, because that's last year's. It's last year's showing you an example of what it could look like.
We'll meet at Shoreline this year.
I
though.
have a
Yeah.
question similar to like what Jennifer has been asking. Like, are the similar kids going to be the kids who did DC? Will they be doing Boston?
It seems like there's one or two that are super, super into history and they want to be involved that apply. They are not always selected. So I can say in the past we've had maybe one or two that went to DC and they had so much fun that they wanted to go to Boston, and they were selected, and their parents were very supportive of that as well. But as we look at applications, we try to take kids that haven't been. We try to take kids from all of our feeder schools as much as possible.
Yeah, to answer that a little bit, I went to DC this last year, and I asked my group of 16 who had gone to Boston the year previous, and I think it was 2 kids. So, very different group.
Okay. Thank you so much.
One more.
Sorry.
I'm looking at the cost. This cost me, it kind of boggles my mind. I know we've been doing this a long time. I was wondering, like, I'm thinking of our demographics of students. I'm wondering how many kids feel like they have access to even apply to this. Like, do you feel like you get a range of kids from different backgrounds who feel like they could shoot for something like this? Like, is, you know, $2,000, even if I did it
That's a lot.
one,
You're
it's
not
just
wrong.
so much money for one student for something, and then they're going to go into high school where they're going to keep having opportunities to do things. And so, yeah, I guess I just wanted you to address that for me, like help me know, like, the range of students you get who apply to this and how representative it is of your school population.
In last year when we went to Boston, so 2 years ago, I had about 120 kids come to the meetings to learn about could they do it, and I had about 80 apply to come. Some of them it's a super stretch for, but they are so excited to come that they find ways to make it work. So we try to give them a lot of ideas of, okay, what can you do? Because we're going to give you fundraisers, but unlike high school, we can't sell tickets to some show and stuff.
Right.
We can't sell parking like Centennial does.
Right.
But we try to give them a lot of, you know, what can you do to earn money? So I've had kids who decided they were going to wash garbage cans in their neighborhood, you know, so they find things to do and they make it work for them. sometimes they, you know, go to grandma and say, Grandma, can I, you know, this is my trip. And that's their birthday and their Christmas, you know, so.
But they are aware
That is
if
a
they
big
qualify
birthday.
for a fee waiver that they don't have to make all of the money up, right?
Mhm.
It is
I have asked that question repeatedly. This might be the first year I haven't asked that question because I talked to John a lot about it when he was the principal, and it does still give me a little bit of heartburn, but the option is to then not offer it to anybody.
Right.
And so, but there are kids in my neighborhood who they're on fee waiver, or who I see them, they're out working to earn it.
Mhm.
They're at our house, and I'm telling my husband, you gotta give them $25. So
Okay.
it is.
But we do get it, what I'm just wondering is, do we get a representative sample of students who get to go, or is it kind of a same demographic
I don't
of kids?
see them all, but
That's
the
all I'm
kids I know,
Okay,
there's
from different
there's representatives.
spaces and culture, okay.
Our last trip to Boston had kids from all of our feeder schools.
That's great.
And many different cultural
Yeah,
backgrounds.
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted.
Jennifer, do you have one more question? No. Oh, okay, great.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Tara Taylor teaches dance, never do. Not one of my kids, I don't care how hard they work. I have 6 kids, I can never set that precedence.
Hello, my name is Tara Taylor and I teach dance at Timpview High School. This trip, very similar to Provo, I would be taking Timpview Dance Company, which is a group of 23 students, to Southern California. On this trip, they would have the opportunity to do 4 different master classes from professional choreographers and dancers in the Los Angeles area at different professional studios. They would engage in these classes and workshops. They would get first-hand exposure in diverse techniques prevalent in the dance industry, and deepen their passion and enhance their skills to gain a clearer understanding of a potential career path in dance. I think that both New York and LA are so rich in the dance world and dance industry. And last year we went to New York, and this year we're going to LA. And I think it's a great way to give these dancers 2 different experiences of potential dance careers they could take if they would like to pursue dance. Some fundraising that we're doing this year is, right now they're working on selling banners for the football and basketball games, which gives them the opportunity to get $500 for 1 banner towards the trip. We're also doing a combined fundraiser with Ballroom called Dancing with the Athletes, where we'll put on a show and sell money for tickets and votes to raise money for the trip. And then we also do 2 young dancer workshops where young dancers come and take class and then perform in our concert, the 2 concerts that we have. And then they also have opportunity to do individual fundraisers. Last year we sold popcorn, and 1 dancer was able to earn $600 towards their New York trip. So it's a great fundraiser to earn some money towards that payment. Some questions that I received through an email from a board member that I wanted to address. Last year we did a combined trip with Provo, and that was to New York City on March 6th through the 10th. We did a combined parent meeting together February 20th, so a few weeks before New York, which I plan to do this year a couple weeks before California. And then I sent out a Google form to all of my parents regarding approval of this trip, and I had all 23 parents respond that they approve of the trip. So I got 100% approval from them. Last year I had, I think, 3 dancers who didn't attend New York, and it was due to a studio conflict. They dance outside of Timpview and couldn't attend because of that reason. But I'm hoping this year they will all be able to attend. Yeah.
Any questions?
Yes.
Same as I've asked in other groups, how many of the students that did go to New York are still on the team and would come this year? Or percentage?
Last year there were 19 dancers. This year there's 23, and we had 9 new. So a good majority would be attending the trip again. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, well, you got off the easiest out of everyone. One question. Sounds great. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, Ethan Snow, Ballroom, Tempe High School.
Right. Hi, I'm Ethan Snow. I teach ballroom dance. I also teach AP Art History at Tempe High School, going into my third year, same as Ms. Taylor. Grateful that she came up before me because she's going to give her preference as to some of the of the fundraising we're doing. So we're going to Southern California, like most other people here in this room, which is kind of fun. There is a competition there that takes place in mid-February. We last went on that trip around almost 3 years ago. This was prior to when I was a coach, but there's a lot of other youth ballroom teams from Utah that go and compete at the competition that we normally don't have a chance to do a competition against unless it's at the championships. There's a variety of competitions that we do here in Utah against a lot of teams here in Utah. But there's a couple teams that are also in California that we don't really get to see and compete against. And so this is a great opportunity for us to compete against teams that we usually don't get a chance to see. And also just a bit about this competition. Some of the best dancers in the world go and compete here. Utah, as we all know, is kind of a bubble. And they operate all their competitions in a very certain way, and so I think it's a good opportunity for these kids to just escape that bubble and to see what it's like in the outside world. And there's a big scene of ballroom in California where, again, just these students can have a chance to compete against other teams that are higher than them. I think it would just push their boundaries a bit, and then they also get to see what like world pro dancers look like. I also happen to be doing my own individual competition at this competition, so it's kind of a convenient place that there's a team opportunity, and then I get to go and compete. And I'll admit it'd be great to have just like a big crowd of students cheering for me as I go compete. So we are flying down there. We're only going to miss 1 day of school, which is I think great, and then that following Monday we'll compete over that weekend, and that next Monday is I believe President's Day, and so that gives them a break from a long trip to just kind of chill out. And so I think everything else should be on the paperwork, but that's the basis of this competition. Oh, I guess I could talk about how we're going to fundraise for this competition or this trip. So we already worked over the summer and fundraised $5,000. We have a great working relationship with the local football stadium here at the Y. We work at their home football games and scan tickets, and it's an easy gig. All we do is just boop, boop, just as people come in and just wait and help with anything that's needed, and we make lots of money per game. Per game we make around $1,500, which is really great. We're also doing a combined fundraiser with dance, which we have no idea how much money we'll make, so hopefully it's a lot, but it's already gaining lots of popularity. I've got like 10 athletes who've agreed, just FYI Taylor. So, but yeah, anything else to talk about? Any questions?
Any questions for Ethan? No. Okay, we're all just plugging along.
Questioned out.
No question.
Great.
No question
Okay.
for you either. All right. That's good.
Tempe High School Chamber Orchestra and Choir. We have Russell Oldman, Marcel Bowman, and John Bolton.
Who wants to talk?
You do.
Okay.
Because you'll be coherent. 3.
So this is a trip that I've done multiple times over the last 11 years. Last year we decided, hey, we share a lot of the same kids. Why don't we plan the same trip so they don't have to pay for multiples? So we did one to St. George last year, and it was a huge success. So we're like, let's keep this up. So we're going to try to alternate between like a stateside, cheaper trip and a more expensive every other year. Further away, so they get some more experiences. A lot of our goals on this is to do a lot of workshops at universities. So we're going to stop at some. We're leaving Wednesday after school. We'll stop at either SUU or Utah Tech on the way down. Stay the night halfway, go the rest of the way to Southern California. Do more workshops in California. Disney has one of the best recording workshops that I've ever seen it is the most real to life experience they can have as a high school student in a recording studio.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
We did it, how many years ago? Maybe like 6 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. So I've been here at Timpview High School for 10 years. I've only toured maybe 4 times because of COVID and maybe numbers weren't so hot this or that year. So I've kind of shied away from the tours, and then now that we're talking about doing full music department tours, it's becoming more exciting for the kids and for us as faculty, and it's helping a lot of parents because there's tons of kids that are in the choir and the band and the orchestra, and it's really hard for them to decide, choir or orchestra, so we're just gonna go together. And they can choose what activities they do while they're on the tour. Like for example in St. George, sometimes they went with the orchestra, sometimes they went with the choir. They could get this workshop and then that workshop and 2 different experiences. Then there's always the kids that only do one thing, and so they already know where they're going to be. But it's kind of fun to go together. So, anything else? Fundraising.
Fundraising, we're operating with starving student cards. It's a continual, renews itself every year. We've been using the program for the past few years. Kids catch on. It's really easy. I walk up to you, I have a QR code, say, hey, sign up, $35 gets you all of this really fun stuff for 12 months, and it automatically renews. It comes back, it's super easy. There's no product. You're not collecting receipts. There's no money. There's no product. Did I say no product? No product. It's a service that it originated here in Utah, and it's very convenient. I
have the link if anybody wants to sign up.
Russell's used it. I've used it. My wife and I have introduced ourselves to axe throwing and other things. So the students can sell these things, and it's not an overpriced product. You get, I don't know, what did we figure? Several $100s.
Thousands of dollars if you use all.
2 years ago, I saved over $300 using the app on just stuff that we do anyways. Last year I haven't used it as much, but I've already saved over $150, I think. So it's $30, and you save tons of money just on stuff you normally do. So that's great.
It's in perpetuity, so it's not something that we have to re-gear up every year to do it. It's just like, hey, this is our fundraiser. Here's the paperwork. Off you go. If you want to raise money, here's a great way to do it. We've got another one it's a good plan, but it hasn't been fleshed out quite enough to really make it, I don't know, it just doesn't work great. If it does work, we had somebody one of our students do some stuff. We pulled in $250 in a 15-minute workshop. It was done. $250 that came to our program, and there was no product. There was nothing that we collected. They just wrote us a check for doing some marketing for them, and it was done. So it has potential. It's just not fully grown yet. So in the future, we'll probably see a little more action on that side, depending on what the economy does.
Any questions?
My question is about liability for instruments that might be transported. Like, do we have a liability piece with that? I'm just thinking of like
those $400,000 million that we have going on the bus.
Yeah. I think of my students care for their instruments sometimes in my family, so I'm really just throwing myself under this bus, but I would be wrecked if they brought that home, you know what I mean, cracked because they chucked it. I don't know, so I'm just wondering, do families know that they have their own kind of coverage if needed for the instrument they send on this trip?
We haven't even discussed it, but typically on a homeowner's policy, I would assume that your personal items like that are covered. I'm pretty sure that our transportation company's got some coverage there for anything.
Well, and I've seen them load very carefully, so I'm not trying to say
the students will do all their loading.
Yeah.
And the smaller things will go up top. The bigger things
go underneath, but they go on top of the luggage, so they're not getting smashed by luggage and stuff. Yeah. Also, a lot of kids opt to bring their school instrument, which, no one really cares if it gets... I'm joking now.
Sometimes we feel that way.
If you're Summer Hayes and you're listening...
No, we've had really good luck.
We've
never had an incident in 10 years.
Oh, great. Okay.
And coverage will depend on who's liable for whatever happens.
Okay.
So
True.
If the transportation company is at fault in an accident, then the transportation company's insurance will pay for that. if the student's throwing their instrument into the bus and it breaks, that is not covered because the liability does not reside on that.
We have a few instrument angels out there because on their trip to St. George, one of the buses left without closing their hatches, and we're almost to getting on the freeway. We realized it and stopped. Someone's all driving by and like going like this, and so we stopped and closed the hatches. All the instruments were saved.
Now we know we triple checked for that. There we go.
Usually the bus drivers are really good at checking that before it happens.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you so much for being here.
That's it? Yeah.
Oh, that made it, all right. Okay.
You are all welcome to leave now.
Oh.
I know you don't want to stay. If you want to stay,
please
you're
stay if
welcome
you
to
want
stay.
to.
Don't feel like you have to. Thanks a lot. You're super excited. But I also want to give you an opportunity.
Okay, all right, item number 6 then, let's go ahead and talk about our student fee for the Centennial Performing Arts. This is our second presentation. That's for you, Devin.
So this is just for the approval of the student fee. This is our first reading of it. We'll do another one and read it.
Okay.
We approved the travel, now we're
That's right,
looking at
you're
the
right.
fee.
Okay,
So
the fee, first time we're talking about the
this
fee.
will be our first time that we're talking about this fee, but this just will cover the cost of the travel for the Centennial trip to Washington,
New York.
It's New York. So
And
they
it's
are,
free.
that's right. So this will go on the fee schedule as soon as it's approved, and then they can start doing the fundraising.
Was anything needed to be put on here? I didn't see.
None of so this was one of, for all the travel that we just talked about.
Right, I just didn't know if we needed any of the information
So all
on
of
Fort Doc.
those, we added up fees, travel fees to all of the performing arts this year, which was one of the things that was causing a couple of heartburn with the fee discussions, that everything was so high. But it was just so that we didn't have to come back and ask for the fee to be added if they decided to go somewhere.
But this fee to be added, do we need to actually have
Like,
what the
have
fee
something
is
on
public
Fort Doc.
record?
So, no, we just have to say that we are going to add a $2,000 fee. We'll show the new spend plan on the next one when we do the final approval. But
Could we add it though to Board Docs? I don't know.
Yep.
We're supposed to have it posted for 2 months so people know, and I don't know where anyone would find that information at this point so that we're meeting that requirement. So I think if it's at least here in our agenda,
I will add that on.
people could look it up, that would be great.
Okay, so it's a $2,000 fee that we're adding.
That's our standard travel for all of the programs. So that's what we put
That's what they had put on their travel paperwork, so we can even just add the travel paperwork.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions for Devin on this? Okay, great, thank you, Devin. Item number 7, our large purchase request, also for Devin.
So we have the two of them today. I'll do the Canyon Crest one first. The Canyon Crest one is for Great Western to do the landscaping at Canyon Crest. The original bid that they came to me with was 86. I asked them to go back and give me a better offer, so we have 71 on this one. That you can see on Fort Docs. I have that on there. So that will be the cost for the sprinklers, the sod, and some other repairs. When I asked Kyle about what that cost would be for us, he said that there are some things that they are not trained how to do, and it would require most of his crew to be there for several days, taking them off some of the jobs that we're doing, the regular maintenance that we do. So I don't think there would be much of a savings if we pulled them all out of the job. Plus, we'd still have to buy all the materials that they're using in the job. So that one is for that. They're wanting to get started right away. But after the conversation with Lisa last time, I told them they couldn't start until after the board. No, you're good. I really want you guys to be given the opportunity. This is not your fault. I want the board to be given the opportunity to do it before we approve the project to start.
My next question is My next question was how many companies gave us a bid for this job?
There were 2 other companies.
Okay, great.
that-
That's all I wanted.
yeah.
I'm like, because we didn't see
I
that
believe,
process.
that's the one that they brought me that was the lowest.
Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted to know.
Can I just ask a question about this? This is related to the parking lot redo.
Yep.
And is that done? Is that officially?
Parking lot is finished.
Okay.
They're doing pour some concrete on the northwest side of the school for bike racks. And then this will be on the other side to finish up that one.
Is this just the front irrigation, or does this irrigation cover some repairs around it?
I believe that it's covering all of the repairs to all of the irrigation that has happened. But I cannot guarantee that because that one I did not ask that question, but they said it's 19,000 square feet of sod and finishing up all of the. There's not 19,000 square feet of sod, just the front.
There is not.
So that's why I'm pretty
So
sure.
it
that's
must
all
be.
gone.
She's like, no. She knows.
Any questions for Devin on that large?
Just want to make sure this is on top of the already correct budget that we already. Yep.
And it comes out of capital.
This will come out of the capital fund. Yep. And this likely will come out of his contingency budget, not increase the budget that we already have. Okay.
Okay, next one.
The next one is the scoreboards. So I have on there, so I did a little bit more digging after the last meeting just so I could get some idea. We called Daktronics to get some information about the installations. They actually did create a contingency in their quote for a lot of the installation charges. There's just a few things that we have to do. TIMPU does not currently have a pipe out to the scoreboard that would be able to run directly for fiber. So that we will have to bore for that. So when you look at the approval and the next part of the meeting, you'll see that I have $100,000 in there for the installation of what we would have to do because we have to run that power and the fiber. When I looked at, or I called Westland today to find out what the normal cost for it would be, they said it's between $5,000 and $8,000 a foot that they have to bore. So it would likely be between $40,000 and $45,000 for the length that would have to be.
For real? Like $5,000
Yeah,
for that?
it's pretty.
Were we already gonna have to put in some kind of a thing anyway?
So $5,000 to $8,000 depending on the distance and what utilities they would have to cross per foot.
So we're saying that the little conduit they had put in is not big enough, right?
It is not going to the press box where the fiber would be able to go to. It's actually going just to power. This is just a guess. I really am just trying to give us an allowance. It could be more, it could be less. We haven't gotten bids. But ProHide does have 2 pipes that go out to the scoreboard, and we're pretty sure that that one is going to be just a simple installation. TIMPU we will have to run. They will not allow us to use wireless. It will work on the scoreboard side, but not on the video side, which would defeat the purpose of having the scoreboard put up anyway. And so we are looking into getting some more concrete bids, but right now that was my best guess. But it's a lot less than what we were expecting just because there was some of the installation that was covered. Just the carryover from last year, that was the other question that people had for me. There's $323,000 that the schools will be
each or combined?
Combined.
323, you said, sorry.
323,000 that the schools will do from their carryover from last year, plus there's the remaining balance of the school capital that we could also use that the other schools did not use, which would give us about $647,000 that we can use from carryover. So it would just require us to pull around 300,000 from fund balance for the rest of it. Does that feel better?
What's that number? Tell me that number again.
You're winning, Devin.
I really worked really hard to try to get the numbers down. I know, and that's why, I've been working really hard over the last couple of weeks trying to make sure that I can at least feel there is a little bit less angst over the decisions.
What
So,
was that number again?
Overall, with the carryover from just Provo High and Timpview and the school capital money, it's $647,000.
Out of our budget?
Out of the carryover budget.
Out of the
Carryover
carryover.
So from the fiscal year 24
Okay.
budgets that were not spent, which would only require us to add 300-ish
Okay,
thousand
that's the
from
number,
fund
okay.
balance, which is a much more doable number than what we were looking at before. Now, that is not that's the reason I put 100,000 in for contingency. We may not need it. We may need it depending on what they find with the boring and what we need to do, because we've got to do 2 pipes. They don't like to combine the power and the fiber, even though it's allowable. So we'll see what we can do. We're also going to go up and see exactly where the pipe that's currently there is running. If it's close enough, we might be able to go around and put it. We don't want to do above. I don't like overhead wires. They cause too many issues when we're dealing with, like the drone show that's happening for homecoming. So we want to make sure that there's no issues with some of those other things that they're wanting to do. So much more doable. I wish I could give you the final. This is the answer, but this is way
much
more
comfortable.
So Daktronics in their bid, once we called, they said yes, that there was a little bit misleading in the quote, but there is a contingency for concrete. There's a little bit for soil. We may have to do some soil remediation up at Timpview once all is said and done. And it does also take care of hauling the old one away, which is great. Then we don't have to find a place in the Timpview parking lot to store it.
I'm sure somebody would want it in their backyard.
So I guess if they want to keep score of something, I guess we could do that.
Somebody might want it.
That might be a little bit of a challenge to transfer to the.
It really is falling apart up in the right now. Pieces
It's
are
like
dropping out.
Timpview history right there.
Hey, it's work time. Fundraise right there.
Question.
Yes.
This is real fun. There is like a difference in the warranties between the two, just like a couple $1,000s, which is interesting.
So, I'd have to go through the warranties. I went through all of the lines of the size. We went with the smaller of the two just because the bigger one was really big, and the other ones would actually probably work on the post that we already have.
Okay.
It also has a sound system, so really there's a couple of things there's still a couple things we need to deal with. The lights at the stadium at Timpview are one of them, but I mean this will at least get that piece of it taken care of. So.
Any other questions for Devin on this?
My question is, sorry, back on Shoreline.
No, you're good.
So I just was reading under the exclusions. It says the exclusions are protection. Sorry, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm sorry, can't even rest. An exclusion in this is basically the old system, right? Like protection, maintenance, or restoration of existing landscape or irrigation features. So it sounds to me like in fact this is a bid simply for the front of the school. Because they bothered to make sure that's really clear as an exclusion. Then that doesn't make sense to me that it would be
restoration. That's a good question. But the 19,000 square feet is not just the front
it
of the
cannot
school.
be.
So
no.
I will verify with Kyle.
Okay, great.
It's probably just saying we're not doing anything with any part we're not touching.
Right.
That would be my guess. There's grass and stuff that's probably fine. They're saying nothing with that, just the part, right?
Right. That's what I'm guessing.
Okay.
I can check with Kyle. I'll text him and see.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Devin? No? All right. Well then, we're on item 8, and we are only about 9 minutes behind, so that's not too terrible.
I'll be fast.
Okay, website compliance officer.
Well, I'll be fast, but you guys might have questions, so I don't know. So, many of you you're aware that we've had an Office of Civil Rights complaint against all of our websites because of accessibility for individuals with disabilities. So Shauna has done a fantastic job of working with the Office of Civil Rights, which includes several meetings each week where they walk her through the training of how to update every single site. what we have to recognize is every single school site, if a teacher has a site and then that teacher sends you out to something, anything that gets linked to provo.edu has to be compliant with this. So even if a teacher is saying, go here for homework help, if we're going to have that on our website, then we have to ensure that that vendor is also following these accessibility pieces. So all in all, we're dealing with thousands and thousands of websites that actually have to be audited by October 15th. And then in addition to that, now we have to go in and fix all of them. And then from there, we have to ensure that we have somebody on staff that every time a school is updating their website, that they're following these accessibility pieces. So as we started looking at this, and we had a meeting with tech, and we had a meeting with communications, and just looking at the number of work orders that we have that come in for our website, the amount that we're asking content managers to do, where they're only really paid $1,200 a year to manage all of our communications electronically, which, if you're wondering why sometimes our stuff is not as updated as it should be, this is why. We really feel like we need a full-time person that can support all of the district websites as well as support all of our schools. And it gets easier at a high school where I have extra money and I can pay a teacher to do this, but at an elementary school you don't always have individuals that have this kind of background or knowledge. School calendars aren't updated and those kinds of pieces. So this individual is going to get us through this process of this audit, which will take over a year to complete according to our OCR attorney, the OCR attorney that we're working with, but also then take some of that burden off of our schools in maintaining our websites in that process. Now we recognize that's adding an individual to this, and so what we have committed to is that we also need to start looking at, as people leave at the end of this year, are these positions obviously that we need to replace, or can we reassign some tasks so that we're not just continuing to add? But we feel like this would be a good support for our schools as well as for Shauna, who might quit any second because of just it's a lot. When she started going through and I saw the list of everything that was a piece of this, it's pretty comprehensive. So I'm bringing this to you to just ask for that. It's on behalf of us, tech and communications, that position would really have to work quite well together. We're still going to have tech kind of maintaining a lot of the more logistical pieces, but in terms of the actual managers of all of our content and quality control, this would be an individual that I think could really help us with making sure our information is accurate. As we saw this summer when I was looking at some of our schools' websites, and I'm like, oh, their content manager isn't in, and this is why there hasn't been a post since, April 30th. That's not, it's not reasonable. This would be a 242-day contract. They could help us with the registration. They could help us make sure everything's ready to go, answer questions with regard to that as well. What am I missing, Caleb and Shauna?
That's pretty good.
What questions do you guys
So
have?
we'll still maintain content managers at the schools?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to do mostly like social media posts and things like that are happening instantaneously. This is going to be a lot more of the structural piece behind the scenes. So it's going to require a much higher level of technical skill.
I guess I'm then thinking about the content of a teacher's class website with a link to somewhere else to go. Like, are we also making sure with our teachers that, I know it's such maybe it feels like a lot of extra work, but that the content on the sites they link are content that would comply with our sensitive materials, do you know what I'm saying? Sensitive materials policy, like the actual content, not just accessibility, but also content of any site a teacher
that we can train this person to do.
I would love for them to just, the teachers too, to just remember, like, I gotta check and see who's advertising on that site or whatever, just so that we're careful.
So it's going to be a permanent position or temporary? Temporary.
Temporary.
Until they fix all the websites, yeah.
We talked about that as to, like, do we just do this to get us through the audit process? But the other piece that we were also looking at is just how much, when you have one-to-one, especially at your middle schools and high schools, and how much of a demand we place on tech. A lot of districts have gone to having an individual tech for every single school. We were looking at that as an option. And really, in talking with Chad and his team, we felt like if we could pull this responsibility off of tech, then they can be more responsive to the other issues that arise at the schools. So we felt like this was a win. So we will ask for your approval of this position, and then we would, if you approve it, then we would get it posted pretty quickly and get moving on this. So right now we have all hands on deck completing the audit. So we have a whole team of tech that we pulled off of everything else, and all of communications is helping, just trying to get through these websites so that we can meet the October 15th deadline.
So will we be voting on that at the next meeting?
We'll be voting on it. I think it's tonight.
It looks like I missed it.
Yeah, I don't have it on here tonight.
I talked to Jason and he said it wasn't necessary, but and I thought to be back to you.
Okay.
So in the past, we've not voted, we have informed like this.
Okay.
And we made sure everybody was in approval of it, but we didn't have a formal vote. So that was on me, I apologize, but that's how we've handled positions in the past.
How do you guys want to handle it? We can put it on the all-day board meeting. That just means we won't post until the first week of October. Or we can go based on.
I feel like we've run into this dilemma before on positions.
We have.
Yeah. What do we think?
Well, it is asking to spend more budget, right? So
Yes.
that's why I
over
think.
50,000.
Yeah, I think that's why it should be a vote, but I also understand there's a time sensitive thing
Yes.
here. So I wonder if we could give an informal vote
Directive
now and then have a formal vote.
Maybe
Official vote next meeting, but
is she okay so we post that?
I think
Informal?
yes.
But do we want to be, well, we want to be careful because there's always going to be changing of positions and titles and all those kind of things. And every time we have something, do we really feel like we need to bring it?
I wonder if it's more about new positions.
Right. Well, this year we created all sorts of new positions with vice principals, and you know what I mean?
That we
just
didn't
saying,
vote on. That's my question. If we're not voting all the time on these, why would we
Yeah.
vote on this one?
Right.
And that to your point, that's where we've come from in the past, is that we've typically been able to explain how we have chosen to not hire in another position to then hire for this. This is a little different in that this came up pretty quickly, and we haven't tried to explore those ways where we wouldn't refill a position based on. But we've come to the board in the past explaining that we needed a position in a timely manner based on the fact that we had a change in the law or a change in an expectation. We've not taken it to vote in the past.
Devin, do you have?
So if we were actually increasing the budget overall, then I could see the need for a vote. This is coming out of the cushion that I've got, so I'm good if you guys do not feel the need to vote, because it's not increasing our budget. It's just using budget that we currently have as our
Well, it
set
seems
aside.
like this still is different than a purchase. Right.
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
Correct.
And I just want to make sure we're keeping the balance between getting too micromanaging on things that are in our responsibility and well, the budget is, but where this isn't like a increase in the budget, then I feel like I'm okay letting y'all do your job.
Well,
We
this
can
is
just know about it.
Because it's a brand new job description, whereas when in February we were adding all the vice principals, and that is a job that's already been done before, and
Not
No, but we generally don't add like school specific positions, but I will say in our business meeting when we added John's position for director of special programs, that was approved. To create that position,
and
that
my
was.
position was the same time,
Yep.
the position for the purchasing and finance. It's not required. I mean, it depends on what you want your practice to be.
So what's standard, anybody know what's standard across like the state on this?
I know most districts do not have the board approve new positions.
Okay.
But I don't necessarily know if that's the way, the direction you wanna go. We wanna make
Right.
sure that you're comfortable with, I mean, at least something like this where Wendy comes and informs, or, you know,
Because we could at this meeting say, no way, we're not doing this.
We
Like,
could,
like,
absolutely
you know.
say it, I just don't think that's a great idea, so, it doesn't necessarily study session is to talk about it.
Right.
And if you don't agree with it, this is a perfect time to talk about it and say, this is the reason why I don't agree with this position. Not necessarily that you have to approve it.
Because then we're giving feedback to Wendy, which then can decide.
Correct,
Okay,
and then
maybe
her
I need to go a different
direction,
direction.
Wendy as the superintendent can then open the position based on the collective
So it's not, you're
approval.
still bringing it to the board, but we
Correct.
just don't have to have it official.
Right, I appreciate being informed of newer positions like this, but I don't feel like we need to vote on that.
And I think that it would be poor management for Wendy and I not to bring new positions
Yes.
to you. So, you know, if we're just replacing positions or changing a job description, I just think that that's more of a management side. But if there's a new position that's being added with new responsibilities, I think that's part of our responsibility to do, is to bring that to you, to inform you. And then you express your opinion about the position, and then we move forward based on that opinion.
Somebody feel okay with that, being informed,
I
but
feel
not necessarily
fine not
voting?
voting. Honestly, if you're comfortable with the way, do you know what I'm saying, that it's being
No,
done
I
related to the
think
budget, then
I like Shauna. I'd like to keep her.
I think it depends on the day.
No,
This position
I like
is
Shauna
very
every day,
needed.
even though
I
she's
trust her
terrified
every
of me
day.
at times.
Everybody's terrified of you at times.
And I support us hiring
I think it's great.
people to take, so we have manageable loads for all of our employees, right? So when you actually said we're gonna then evaluate at the end of the year, do we need to fill if someone retires, I think it's good to evaluate, but I also don't want to shift so much because someone did leave so that we could save that money that then would increase undue burdens on people
But I
as
think
well,
that's
so.
one of our responsibilities, is to constantly be
So keep
evaluating
looking, yes,
positions
evaluate,
and see
for
where
sure.
we can save, if there are duties that are not required. You know, the State Office of Education is a perfect example. They have lots of positions that they just keep even though their job may not be necessary. You know, they don't like to give up those positions, and we're more of in the mindset of, I wanna make sure that all the positions that we have are necessary and really add value to the district. And so that's really what we would be doing at the end of every year, is determining what our needs are. And all through the year, as we evaluate class sizes, we make adjustments based on what the needs are at the schools.
Okay. All right, any other comments or questions on the new position? Okay, great.
Thank you, Shauna.
Yes, thank you to everyone working on that audit. I feel like that's probably a beast, so thank you. Item number 9, the Citizens Committee brainstorming session. All right, so.
I've been waiting for this.
Oh yeah, we have 20 minutes, but we really ought to keep it hard and fast to 20 minutes, because we can brainstorm forever if we get out of control. Maybe help me out with this, Wendy or Devin or even Jennifer. We have a bunch of requests on our agenda tracking sheet from board members for different things we want done as a board, and this actually fulfills a bunch of them.
We've always
But
got
we've
a
always
project going,
Right,
right?
we've always
Yeah.
got a project going, we've always got construction, we've always got facility things. And so we've talked about the possibility of having this like ongoing citizens committee, and the concept is there, the idea is there, but we would want to kind of hash it out and decide what we want it to look like, and maybe who is on it and how often they meet, or if they only meet when it's necessary, or all of these different kinds of things. So we want to just brainstorm and see what maybe we feel like that ought to look like.
Is this a yearly thing?
And the why for it.
And the why
Really
for it,
clear
right?
why we're doing it.
Right. So like you asked Melanie, is it a yearly thing? Do we want it to be? Like
I mean,
it can deal with our facilities, it can deal with our construction, it can deal with it could be, we could include this in with our boundary study type things. There's like a lot of reasons to have an ongoing committee that convenes for things like this. We need to decide if we want them to meet once a month or just when we need them, or right, and how long people should be on this committee, and if we rotate people in and out every 2 years, or right. This is what we want to talk about. What do we want it to look like? Gina.
So I am in favor of having a citizens committee because we're always wanting the input, right? It's nice to have our student board members here who we can just turn to. My question is it gonna cause more pain to figure out how to put it, I mean, not put it together, we can put it together, but to have it be ongoing and have someone over, like, I don't want to add something that's just more, like, we're just talking about we need to take some off people's plates. And so I think if we can get it to a point where we're not at, like, someone's not spending half their job trying to keep the committee together, I think I would like for us to be able to have this tool.
So I went to a class at an SBA this last time where they talked about it. I should have brought my notes. Like
Pendergast, right? I think it was Pendergast.
Yeah, and how they started it was very topic specific. Like they were actually looking at boundary adjustments and do they need to close schools and things like that. And so they said it's great to come to the committee with this is the scope of what you're going to talk about, what you're going to study, what kinds of things we want to know from you, so that then as a district we can move forward in the decision process of all of it. And so it was very specific, and those citizens were there just for that. And then when that was done, and I don't remember how often they met, but it depends how long your project is, right? Then that group was done, and then they had a new thing where they wanted input, so they got a group together again and did it for that. They said though that they were enjoying having that input enough that they were transitioning to doing like, hey, join our citizens committee. Generally this will be a 2-year commitment for you. That doesn't mean you're going to be meeting every month, but when we have things, we're going to turn to you as our representative for this area or whatever. And then after 2 years, we'll rotate to somebody else in your area that can represent your area for you.
Would this include things like a strategic plan, talking about ourselves? Do you know what I mean? Like, would we just access community feedback through this committee, or would we still also be, like, would those be formed separately? Do you know what I'm saying? Because we've done this now a couple times, like around our superintendent search, around different things we've had.
Right.
I think we can add more people if it's like boundary issues, especially if it's concentrated in one specific area. We may need more representation from those areas to give us feedback, and I think we can just add people for that, and then just specifically for that issue, but maybe have these guys be our core.
To your question, Lisa, I do like the idea of having enough of a standing committee where we can, maybe the big project is that we're working on this feasibility study and we want their input for that, right? But in the meantime, we have a big policy like the cell phones or something else where one of the meetings maybe we spend some time on one and some time on the other, because we do value that community input.
Like a district community council instead of a school community council.
Right, that's one of the things on our agenda tracking sheet that could kind of help cover that need, right?
It could be kind of like the sex ed committee, like every 3 years a certain school nominates someone, because I have
not
heard
every school is on there every single year either though.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Like every other time, nobody from Amelia was picked for the superintendent or for the strategic plan, and I heard a lot of feedback from that. How come we didn't get to have any input in that? So, well, you know, if we have some kind of rotating schedule from a school.
Or we just have enough positions that there's a representative for every elementary boundary, which is what I was envisioning. Right?
Well, if it's a standing committee, I think there should be representation from every school for sure.
I think
that would make sense to me.
monthly meetings is too much.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking even with like the neighborhood meetings that they do with the city every 6 weeks, that still even feels like a lot.
And they changed that so it's 6 week, yeah, quarterly instead of
It's
monthly.
quarterly now? Oh, no, it used to be monthly.
It used to be monthly, and now it's like
Every 6 weeks, and
or
even
more
that-
than 6 weeks.
More, it was 6 weeks, now it's quarterly.
Well, yeah, the idea, well, right, okay, so we don't have to do every month, but the idea is to, I don't know.
I'm just trying to get, if you're gonna have
Yeah.
volunteers to do this.
100% agree.
It's too much.
I mean, that's why, okay, so instead it sounds like maybe we just need them, we gather them when we need them, or do we want like us every 3 months or 3 times a year, or? The problem with, I feel like the problem with scheduling 3 meetings a year is sometimes we have issues in this quarter and not this one, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, I don't know.
I also wanna distinguish this from something I would like us to talk about in the all-day meeting, which is we've had traditionally parent advisory committees.
This is what I actually thought this was.
And so this is different from that.
Yeah.
Because we need to look at how we want to include individuals that are giving us just general feedback about what's happening in terms of just the experiences that they're having in schools, but we have to be very, very careful about how we do that with the new DEI required restrictions that are in place. And so this is, I do like the idea that this might be more tied to, we're gonna have a citizens committee that's specifically looking at the boundary and feasibility study. Maybe you have a different committee that's looking at what are our next steps in terms of construction for Timpview, for the Dixon site, because when you get an agenda that has 15 different items and you're trying to get feedback on all of those things, I don't know that you're gonna have a very rich discussion from individuals, and we could assign different board members to host those different committees and assign different cabinet members to be part of, I know they love meetings, and so to help facilitate that if needed. But I think you would find you could do a 1-hour meeting and have it be very focused and present the data, get the information, allow them to talk about it. I just sometimes think when you end up with too many agenda items, that can be tricky. So I see this as we have to address the parent advisory committees in a slightly different way because of the DEI legislation.
So in terms of the citizens committee, I guess the question I keep coming back to is, what is the need? Like, what do you need? What do we need? Like what do we want to happen because we have this group? We just need them accessible when we need them.
I think it's to get more information from other people.
From around specific projects, or in general for all of our topics.
And not everything, but I think just like our bigger budget items or.
Okay.
So on here, on the agenda tracking sheet, we've got a request for a district level community council, right? That's one thing. We've also got a second request for parent advisory or district community council. And so that's just basically around working around our data, right? And our improvement data and things like that. Boundaries, also, that's what we've got on here. But facilities was another reason, right? And construction.
I think we always have a few big decisions to be making over the course of a school year or even a semester, right? And I think 7 or 10 of us making those decisions.
Yeah.
You know, we always are like, what do the teachers think? What do our constituents think? And so just having people to weigh in on that, I think we can definitely find some things that like this is what we would want the citizens to weigh in on. And I get your point, Wendy, and I think this is why I've had such a hard time, like how do we do this? Because to be very specific, like who is interested in helping us with our cell phone policy, right? You get people who are really interested. But if we're doing it for cell phone and for boundary and for facilities and for this, I see what Gina said earlier about the capacity of your team to be holding all those different meetings, like is it, and how to find all the different people. Is it easier to have a committee that we've taken the time to set up one time,
standing committee, right?
And maybe every other month or every 3 months or something, and we only pick 1 or 2 topics that for now is what we're going to take to the next semester, right?
Yeah, I don't think we need to have 6 topics. I think we could do meetings quarterly and have one topic, one major topic that they can concentrate on.
Yeah.
But trying to, you guys remember trying to put together the committee and sending out invitations and reviewing and all that kind of stuff is a huge, it's a huge task. So if we are able to have a standing committee and they just know they're doing this for 2 years, right, and we're.
But that can't then double as also a parent advisory committee around, like,
right,
giving us
that's
different perspectives. I guess I see those as the same
It
group
could-
of
it
parents.
could.
If we're
You're just
thoughtful
gonna-
about how we invite and we just make sure we have representative parents involved so that we have lots of different voices in the room. I don't know. But having a separate thing, for me, I don't see the value of separating them. But that doesn't mean I'm right. It just means right now I can't think of it.
I think we just start off with the one committee, and then if we find out we do need these other ones, then I think we can add them. But I think we need to start kind of like Pendergast did, just start with the one committee, and then we can decide after we've used it a little bit how we need to switch it.
So I'm just gonna play devil's advocate just a little
Good.
bit so that you can kind of see. So if I'm a person that's coming into a committee and I'm the only person who's Pacific Islander that's gonna sit at that table, am I gonna feel comfortable in asking those questions and saying, well, this is actually how this is affecting my kids, versus if I get a committee and it's maybe not just specifically to Pacific Islander families, but it might be to families that might feel underrepresented in other capacities. Are they going to feel like they have a safer space? Like, I do think the purpose of the committee becomes very important, and I see these purposes as being a little bit different per se, and I could be wrong in that, but just in meeting with parents that are very concerned that our parent advisory committees have gone away, they're very concerned that it's just going to become a district community council, and the same parents that serve as the chairs on all of the SCCs are going to serve on the district community councils, and we're just magnifying the same voices over and over again. That's all I just want you to consider.
So are you suggesting that we have, I don't even know how we would do the one that you're talking about without getting in trouble.
I'm gonna come up with a solution by the end of September.
Okay. I'm all for that, as long as we don't get
I'm excited to hear this solution.
It'll be amazing.
And I know we have thrown out the term district community council to this. I think when I hear that, I hear let's model it as the concept, but I would like to make sure we have all different people, because our school community council people have a voice and are already going to meetings there, and I think it needs to be different people serving at the district level.
I'm going to also make sure when I hear district community council, I hear land trust funds.
That's
I hear,
true.
so
I
we may need a different name, because I don't want to get that confused.
Well, we've always called it parent advisory committee. It could be just a district advisory committee.
Okay.
Well, I'd be interested in
advisory.
having people who aren't parents
Yeah.
participate
Right,
as well,
that's
especially with
Citizen,
money issues. Yeah.
Citizen advisory committee.
Citizens
would be-
advisory.
The CAC.
Well, I see the nice about a citizens committee, right, is even having them help inform us, I think you have a larger group who are getting more information in a setting where then they can also share that information. Oh, well, this is the information we got in this meeting. I don't know, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just another level of more people understanding, helping support. I don't know. That's like a byproduct. I don't think that's necessarily the goal.
I think it was really valuable having citizens that weren't necessarily parents on the strategic plan committee. I like that. I mean, just lots of different.
We
I
had
think that was-
non-parents too for superintendents.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Definitely, I agree. Citizens should be citizens.
It should be citizens. Okay.
So, I feel like the meetings that we had for our facilities that Devin and I did, the 4 specific meetings that we did at the secondary schools, I feel like we got a lot of really good feedback. People were really willing to come and engage and express concerns as well as support, and those were individuals that didn't necessarily have kids in schools, and they're like, why am I putting more money in a school if it's not doing this, or whatever it was. I did see value in the fact that that was very targeted to a very specific, you know, topic, and by the time it was all said and done, I would say we probably got feedback from probably 150 people that may not have engaged with us, whereas when we take a committee like this, you're going to be getting the feedback of the same 20 individuals. Is that what we want, or is there a way where we can say, do we set up a system by which we're going out and gathering that information maybe in a similar way that we did with the facilities committee? I don't know, it was a lot of work, but I actually felt like I learned so much about the history of concerns of individuals, and just understanding how to build trust, and that there's still a lot of trust that has to be rebuilt, and what that looks like. So I don't know.
I think we can have both, right? We can have an advisory committee, and then on big things where we do want more input, we do go out to, you know, some town hall meetings and things. I think those are still important to have. I also think maybe we can have opportunity with those citizens to say, hey, next meeting this is what we're talking about, or last time, this one meeting we talked about it now, before our next meeting in a couple months, go talk to your neighbors, go talk to community members, and come back with input from other people, so they can represent more than just the people that are in the room. They're representing their neighbors as well.
My area, I think we're going to end up tapping out the same people for all those committees, because no one wants to run for school board. So
Gina's gonna be the
I'll be the
person.
representative, I'm the all-time quarterback.
Well, then my money's on you. If you're my quarterback, I'm gonna win. So feeling good.
You'll end up in the Hall of Fame. Okay.
So you're gonna be the goat.
Any other thoughts on this?
Because I'm the
I guess,
only.
are any of the projects or things that we're currently facing and setting, things that would direct us to want to start gathering a committee right now for that issue, whether that's some construction projects that are looming, whether that's,
I mean, we know.
cause if we're thinking
Boundaries.
about
We have boundaries.
and we're
We
thinking
have
about
bonds of
a bond,
Timpview. We
like,
have
we're thinking about the
bonds.
funds or
We
whatever
think
for
about
Timpview and
yeah.
Dixon. So
One of them you could frame around where we should be getting the plans for the rest of Timpview. We could do a meeting about that, you know, just, you know, that kind of. I know that's one of the things that I heard more
Is there
from
an issue?
people is
Yeah.
I didn't get enough input, or I didn't get
I
to see
agree.
what the
I
plan
agree.
looked like.
Yeah. I think we there's a safe bet we can always have a meeting about something. Yeah.
well, that's what I'm saying, like, do we wanna decide and start trying to put together something with a specific project in mind, or do we want to put together something first in general? Do you know what I'm saying? 'Cause I've heard you addressing the need for both maybe, but, so, where would we start?
Well, I was just gonna say, what are our next steps? So that's the same question. What do we wanna go ahead with it? Do we wanna try and put something together? Do we want?
What do you mean by we?
Well, that was gonna be my
Right,
next thing.
yeah.
Do we maybe have a couple people start finessing some of the details and bring it back and say, hey, how would
Here's
it
the
sound if we did
proposal.
it this way? Like, here's how we select people. Here's about when we think we could maybe start. And what topics we would suggest to start with, right? Here's our most pressing ones and possible ones we foresee in the future.
Right, 'cause we have to have that hashed out when we invite people, to be very clear what
Right.
we're asking and
How
what
many
the commitment
people
is,
and
what, right.
where they're coming from and all that. So we need to put together a proposal, I guess, is on
Are we
how we
asking
want it to look.
Should we be asking teachers to be part of this? Because I wonder, I mean, that's adding another community
I feel like we should go to the teachers, is it I'm
PEA.
PEA, I would say PEC, not right. The PEA to get that information from teachers? I feel like that's a
They'll
separate
give
thing.
us quite a bit, whatever we ask them for, so I feel like we have a really good relationship with them, and so we're.
Christy's
Yeah, Christy's right there.
Sorry, I chose the opportunity to hide.
Shows the opportunity. Well, if we can see you, you're not doing a very good job of hiding.
You can see the camera can see you. Well, we did have staff and teachers on the strategic plan committee, which was super helpful.
How about, would it work if a couple of us on the board work together to come up with a plan and can consult with Wendy and Devin on some logistics of what may or may not work, and then we can share that and go from there?
Yes. Are there
I'm happy to
any
run.
volunteers besides Jennifer? Because Jennifer's volunteering. Anyone else who feels like they would like to get their hands on this?
I'll do it.
All right.
Nobody else looks like they want it.
Everybody's doing that.
Good job, Terry. I mean, I would have said, okay, I'll do it if no one else volunteered, but you volunteered first, Terry. So.
Nicely done.
I'll bring you a candy bar or something for taking on the.
Hutch or Manika, would either of you want? You don't feel like you have to say yes, but I want you to feel like you can be a part of something if you'd like.
I feel like we've been sitting here.
Thank you. So wait, is that a yes or is that just an acknowledgement?
Oh, we're a part of it.
Working together
to come up with a plan
decide
for the
plan,
citizens
yeah.
committee.
Like, if you guys want to make sure that there's students on this committee to give feedback, this is your chance.
We can also just consult with you for a
You guys
little
have
bit.
your
You don't have to be a part of the whole
Yeah.
planning process.
I think it's okay. I think the parents and just the people in the area who aren't really involved in the school is a good group, but I think our student council covers the student portion of
Student
that.
advisory council?
Yeah. Okay.
Hutch, you think anything differently?
I'd be open to consult,
Okay.
like just to consult. But as for right now, I feel like I should just kind of like get settled down with the student board,
Yeah.
like responsibilities before I try and go.
Schoolwork and okay. Alright.
Playing football, just a few things here.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, all right, so Jennifer and Terry,
Okay.
thank you for taking that on, and we'll look forward to the proposal / plan, and we'll go from there. Okay, awesome. All right, item 10, another discussion. Here we go. We need to discuss the option or the possibility of our board taking a position on Amendment A, an official position. When Jennifer and I talked about this discussion in agenda planning meeting, we talked about we're discussing if we want to take a position. We also talked about maybe even writing like a resolution that like talks about how we feel about it, and maybe not necessarily an official position, but a resolution, like going back and forth. And so we thought, well, it warrants at least a discussion. Is this something we want to do? And if so, at the all-day meeting, we can come up with our language on, and exactly how we want to present that out. So
We've got a couple slides too to help with the discussion.
great. Let's do it. Who's got the slides?
Bonnie's
Yeah,
okay.
slides.
Alright, so
Please.
Okay. Okay, so
Go down just slightly. Oh, no. Never mind.
Right there. Oh, second which one?
well, that one. There you go. Perfect. That's what we want. Okay, so you can see on the left is the language from the resolution that they're going to make the amendment, right? And then on the right we have the actual Amendment A language. So
From the state legislature.
yes, from the legislature. So if the amendment passes, then you can see there the underlined part would be new. So it would maintain a statutory public education funding framework that uses a portion of revenue growth for expenditures from the school uniform school fund for enrollment and long-term inflation, budget stabilization, still supports children with disabilities and individuals, and to then support other state needs after the fulfillment of 5D. So there is not clear what that means of a public education funding framework. And funding growth and inflation that is in there, that would become constitutional language. However, we currently have it as statutory language, so they have been doing that for a while now. They could vote any year to change that, but I think there would be a big public outcry about it, so they may not actually go through with the vote if it were to come up. So, and then you can see for Amendment A, it just says they can use it for everything after the enrollment inflation, and then if it is approved, then they will also eliminate the state sales tax on food. So they're tying the two together.
Well, and this doesn't say after, it really says and, which is different than after. Right? Used for all state needs and prioritize public education funding.
That's true.
I mean,
yeah.
It's not even.
It does say after in the SJR 10 language, right? Support other state needs.
Yes,
after
it does.
the fulfillment of the requirements.
But I don't know.
Change
That's
the language.
Yeah, that's interesting.
because I think that makes a difference.
Yeah.
It's saying we'll do both, but what does prioritize look like? Is my question, right? When they say prioritize public education, that is a very broad.
Exactly.
Right? What is?
And what is public education?
One person says prioritize. This is how I prioritize it with this amount of money. Another person say, well, no, I think this amount is sufficient to say we're prioritizing, right?
Well, and are they counting their vouchers as public education, right? The voucher system?
Well, and if the amendment passes, does it really matter at that point, right? Because they can basically say, well, our framework is, as of right now, all it is growth and inflation and putting some away in the stabilization fund. And after that, they don't have to give us any more.
Right, that could be the priority.
Yeah, my concern is if the protection is removed of all income tax has to go to these categories. They don't give us all of it that's there, but at least because they can only spend it on a few things, they give us growth, inflation, and some more, right? But if it can then be used on anything, I worry that it will become a ceiling. The growth and inflation will be the floor, where then they give us more on top. They'll say, oh, we did growth and inflation, now you're good, we're moving on to
other statements.
Hockey stadium.
Is this so that they can tap into our big rainy day fund?
I don't know that it's about that. I don't know if Devin has a better answer for that.
I mean, that's part of the budgetary stabilization fund, is that rainy day kind of spot.
They are feeling the crunch in the rest of the state budget, right? And they're trying to address that, which I understand that, but I don't feel there's enough protection for education to feel comfortable with how it is framed this year, right? So
have people on the board spoken with our current legislators and representatives about this specific amendment, and curious to hear how they represent kind of the guarantee of funding being, and like prioritization, what does that look like? Anyone have input from that conversation you could share?
We have talked ad nauseum with them, and it depends on who you talk to. There are a couple who say you should be very worried about this.
Okay.
And there are some that say you should not be worried about this because we will take care of you as we always have.
But then again, they might not be in office in 2 years, so we don't know. I mean,
Without it being fully defined, but you can't guarantee anything.
With the guarantee, I mean, I have a hard time with this one based on what they're doing with Amendment D.
Yes.
To trust what's going to happen.
Okay.
So this is very hard for me to support it.
So, having talked with, I think, most, if not all of you, I think we're all kind of on the same page how we feel about it.
Right.
So, Bonnie, can you go to the next slide, please? So, the question is, do we actually take a formal position, or even, as Rebecca mentioned, a resolution, something that says, as a board, we are unified, and here's how we feel about this issue. The pros, the community, and the voters can know where we stand. We're unified. The majority of education groups have come out in opposition to it, so we would add our voice to that. It would give us an opportunity as individual board members to communicate more with our constituents, because as you can see, the last con is once we vote on something, we cannot send it out on district resources as like a mass, hey, vote, here's what the board says, vote against or whatever, right? So it would need to come from us as individuals, as board members, not the school district.
But
Could
even
it
if we're doing
impact
individual-
our working relationship with legislators? I don't know. I'd be interested what
Other
Terry and
districts
Gina
feel
wants.
that way, especially after the USBA meetings.
Mhm.
But I don't think I feel that way. With our legislators vote against things all the time that I disagree with, and
they
we
know
still
that.
work together with them, so.
And I think our Provo people already know how we feel about it.
Yeah.
Is there a precedence for a board taking a position on a political
Didn't
ballot
our
or
board
on a
did
ballot
it
measure? No, just a
Canyons-
board in general on a
Canyons
ballot
took a position
measure.
against SJR 10 specifically,
Okay.
I think, right? Was that what we talked about?
Because as a non,
And they-
I know
they
it's
signed
not
it.
necessarily a partisan action, but I'm just saying, as a non-partisan local elected board, I guess I just don't know.
Others
what
have done it,
what
but
is
it's, I would
appropriate.
say it's rare, but it has been done.
How does that, the second con about USBA, how does that affect our relationship with USBA?
So here becomes the trick, because USDA says that they have conditional support, and then it also says that individual board members and boards, doesn't it say can do whatever they want basically? So we could say we're against it according to that language, and that's okay according to that language.
Yeah.
Now that it's on the ballot, I guess it's too late for this, but I'm just saying, like, I always would rather than say I'm against something, say, here are some suggestions of how this could work, right? Like, what are the problems they're trying to tackle with this amendment, and then like actually come up with some proposed solutions that allow, you know, a guarantee and a prioritization of public education funding in a way we feel comfortable with, that then does allow the flexibility that may be needed. I'm just wondering
I
about
feel like
that.
we've given that, like USBA,
Okay.
when
Okay.
we had the SJR 10
That's what the
discussions,
conditions
it was
are.
initially conditional, right? These are some things we would like to see, at-risk funding, right, all these different things, and they didn't meet that after the legislative session.
And to give more context to that, they've shared at our JLC meetings and things, so our USBA leadership, superintendent leadership, has been in lots of like small, private, closed-door conversations with the head legislators who do make all these decisions. And kind of how they phrased it by the time we got to the delegate assembly was, we've had all these conversations and we feel this is the best we're ever going to get out of them. Like, we've tried to say, hey, let's look for other things. What about this? What about this? What about that? And they feel like we've negotiated with the legislators as much as they thought they could. And so that's why some of them were like, okay, I think this is okay to support this amendment, right?
I guess I just need, like Lisa was saying, I wanna see the guarantee.
I agree, that's why I think
So
we should
That's where it falls short.
vote this down, right, cause there's not enough guarantee, so.
So along kind of with what Lisa was saying, is one of the things that we already talked about is that's how we could frame, if we decided we wanna go with a resolution or a statement or, you know, a formal thing or whatever, that's how we could frame it, is these were the conditions and these are the ones that have not been met, right, and therefore
We're not able to
support this, right? So we could frame it like that.
You could also say, after I sent out that email from the Kenzie Gardner Institute where they said in 1931 was when the guarantee, the earmark for on the income tax was passed. This was during the Great Depression, and they still prioritized education funding. So,
To take away that guarantee is.
yeah, when they were during the Depression.
Precedent was set during the economic.
Yeah.
So I guess what we need to decide is if we want to go ahead and take a formal position, and if so, then we will come back to this at the whole day meeting.
Yeah, if we decide to, then, probably legislative committee would draft something based on our discussion and things, and then, yeah, we'd present that at Alden.
And something to think about, I don't know if we've discussed it here, is that this is on us as a board. We can't use any district anything to do this because this district has to remain neutral on this. Whereas we as the board we can take a position.
Right. Yeah, that's our.
Because that's
Which
our
is
just
just
job.
we read the language in a meeting, we vote, and then privately we use that language and communicate it with
Right, we could use
constituents,
our-
right?
Well, one of us could put together things that we could then distribute out, but we cannot say, hey, Caleb, can you put something together for us?
And we can't use our photo.edu.
Correct.
To do it.
Email addresses.
Or,
Like
so it does,
school board
it makes
social
things
media
tricky
can, right?
that way.
No, that's ours.
You
personal-
can. Your school board social media is yours. I'm pretty sure you
Okay.
can.
Yeah,
That's not, yeah.
Mine's not very active, sorry.
So then when you get active about a certain thing, they'll go, wow, she must really care.
Yeah.
about this."
And if there's a cohesiveness
someone has
between
been
us, I don't know, I
supervised
think it might be.
I think honestly, given the fact that USBA said boards can do what they want, makes me feel less nervous about our relationship with USBA.
I
Like
think
opinion and a
USB
relationship, right? So if we take that position, I think.
We can.
Have we heard of any other districts considering doing this?
I mean, we know that Candace did it, but.
Candace has already done it.
For this amendment?
Not for, so they did it for SJR 10, so it's the
SJR,
same,
I'm just finding
it's
out.
just a different.
What's the quote again? History is never made by like obedient women
No,
or something.
it's not.
What is it?
Well-behaved women rarely make history.
Well-behaved. Do we want to be not well-behaved?
Yes. Mormon, Laurel.
I mean, I don't.
I think maybe we should. That's where I fall. I
I'm
think
totally
that we
open
should
to
just
it.
be clear and like, this is concerning for public education. This is what we have stewardship over in our city, in our district, and I don't know, yeah, I mean, will it make a difference? It may not, but it may. But also I think it's good to be clear where we stand.
Can we take this resolution and go to like PTA meetings and use it there, or is that?
No.
PTA has already, state PTA has already come out against Amendment 8,
We
so.
wouldn't, yeah, we wouldn't have to.
Okay,
So
they,
they're
they're,
doing it.
I'm just
I
wondering
mean,
though,
can we
like to
take
go
it
to
to
like our
PTA
local
meetings to
PTA
promote
meetings, so
it?
to inform.
I think you can.
Yes, because that's not a district sponsored
Yeah.
meeting, and as
Even
long as
though
you're
it's
representing yourself as the Board of Education, and not as Provo City School District, you would just have to be really clear.
So what I've been saying so far when I've been at PTA meetings is here's the issue. We as a board have not taken position, but here's how I personally feel about it. And if we were to take a position, then we could say, and as a board, we have voted, and here is our position on
That's
it.
what I said in the neighborhood meeting in
And
District 5.
There's a copy of the position or the letter or whatever.
I'm open to it. I guess I think it would depend on how it were worded.
I think it's gonna depend on the
because
wording.
I'm happy to go do what you're talking about, where I say, here's where I stand.
Yeah,
I guess I'm a little
I've been writing
more
down some
hesitant
notes about
around
what you guys have
the
been
board.
saying that we could include.
I can, are we gonna do this in the all-day meeting? I can say and take a stab at it, but that just sounds wrong. I can try it.
Okay. Well, and
You
we
can give
we
us a
can
rough
help
draft.
you and Gina as a legislative committee, we can kind of
Oh, that's true.
help with it. But we'll let you lead it.
I don't care.
Cause Terry and I are doing the.
That's true. If I get those notes that you just had, my
Okay.
friend Chad and I can.
I was just gonna say.
Wait, who's
Not Chad.
Wait, you don't use, we don't
Chad does
use,
something
we don't
else.
use Chad anymore, we use Doug.
All right. Okay, well, we will move on to the next item. We'll turn it over to, are we ahead?
We're right on time.
Oh, we're right on time, 6:10.
But we're talking about strategic plans, so what's the likelihood that we'll stay on time?
Okay, go ahead, Wendy. Take it away.
I appreciate those who laughed at that. Do you wanna display this, Bonnie?
So I just wanted to highlight a couple of the changes that we made on the strategic plan itself. I had Shauna look at it and also give us
some feedback and then sent that along. So we did change the dates to 2025 to 2030. We also, on page, and I'm going by the page numbers that are down at the bottom. So page 2, it is now very large. Welcome, educate, inspire.
Looks
better. And then the core values.
No.
Right
That's
there.
right.
Oh, next one.
That's the old one.
That's the old one.
I just clicked on the
It is.
Because
I
growth
have it
has
in Board
moved
Docs.
up and welcome, educate, inspire is a lot bigger.
It's in board docs.
The correct version.
Yeah, the correct version is in Board Docs.
It says Lower Moreland.
Maybe that's as good as keep the old version.
Yeah. Oh, look, we could do this.
Oh,
Like,
there you go.
there's the old. This is the new.
There we go.
Okay. So we made these bigger. Jennifer suggested that we swap creativity and growth and put growth towards the top. So we have belonging, growth, empowerment, creativity, community. Are you good with that order? Okay, perfect. Are you good with the orange icons and the green lettering and the blue?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Oh, I'm winning. This is awesome. We changed this picture.
Oh, she just went back to the new one now.
Better.
Now you
She's
can
got
sit
it.
down.
She's got
Oh,
it.
good. Okay, so now I can sit down.
But you looked so good.
I know, I
at
did.
Stand
And then I did make some changes. I don't know if you read the planning process, but I feel like I cleaned that up a little bit so it wasn't quite so repetitive. And then next page. Shauna really is. Shauna, you really do think it should go priority 1, priority 3, priority 2, like that?
No,
One,
it should
two,
be
three.
2, 3. I don't know
Okay.
why I didn't switch it.
Okay.
I like it
I
this
meant
way.
to switch it. I
That's
thought I
fine.
had. Do you? I
can't
get
read
I don't think it was.
I like it
I
this
don't
way.
remember.
Because I read in
They
a
switched
circle,
it
but it
back.
doesn't
They
matter.
might have switched it back.
I do. Yeah.
Let's pretend people are gonna sit and read this.
All right, we're gonna take a straw vote. How many of you like it better this way?
No half raising
No,
your
half
hand. You have to raise your hand.
The other, this is how it looked before. Changing it would swap
the
priority 2 and 3.
Green and honestly.
Orange.
It doesn't
Do you go
matter.
1,
don't
2,
care.
3, or do you go 1?
If it's
2?
already the printers, just leave it.
Yeah.
No.
No, she needs it to be 2.
I like
okay,
it that
Shauna,
way,
you
too.
win.
I agree with Shauna.
Okay.
Shauna's
All right, well, I'll get her to switch that. Okay, next one. Yep, that one's good. Next page. Okay, so on this page, we added on key performance indicators. We actually listed out key performance indicators and then put KPIs in parentheses. Measured by end of level state assessments. This was, when I had Michelle Eldridge look at it, she felt like when we kept saying rise, aspire, she goes, and those assessments may change. And so this just makes more sense. On post-secondary readiness indicators, she put as established by the Utah State Board of Education. That way, if for some reason those changed, we could go in and change those metrics if we felt like we needed to. So those are the changes there. Wellness and safety, next page. Yep, that one's good. Then we did key performance indicators. We did Utah State Board of Education climate survey. Changed all of those dates, 2025 to 2030. And we put improved survey data scores by 4 points over baseline in 3 priority areas. My only question, and maybe this is more a question for Caleb and Shauna, do we need to say by 4%? Because if it's on a 4-point scale, that's...
Yeah, but it doesn't
How do you want me to do that? Because I did it by percent in all of the others. Should I keep it by percent?
What's an ODR? I'm sorry.
It's in the.
It says it in the
left.
other thing. It says office discipline
Okay, sorry,
referrals.
there you go.
I do think we need to put it in parentheses, ODR.
You got it. We can do that. Okay.
In the,
Kind
yeah,
of like that, just like
in the
the
middle
KPI.
column.
In the
Yep.
middle.
Yeah.
You got it.
Just in the middle, not up.
Let me.
Because other people are gonna go, what the heck's an ODR, where am I supposed
And they're not going to read.
No.
Okay, page 8. Okay.
I don't know.
And then I do need to make a change on where it says decrease the number of students who are chronically absent. It says baseline survey data. I'm going to put baseline absenteeism data because that needs to be consistent there.
Wait, sorry, where?
On the third.
Third, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Does that make sense? See, I should have just stayed up there. I could have just pointed at it. Sorry.
So Gina pointed out that in the second box and the third box, baseline is capital, a drop and decrease are not capital.
You want me to do it the same, because that makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
Because improve is capital in the first box.
Okay. Yep.
There's also
same
an
with decrease.
extra.
Yeah, drop and
There's an
decrease.
extra space on implement on the second bullet in the second box.
Oh yeah, no, I see that, Melanie. Good eye.
Wow.
Here, there's two spaces.
Oh, yeah, before the.
On one contribution.
Okay. Next one, priority 3. I need to go in and double check because I feel like on the second goal I had changed those strategies, so I don't feel like that got reflected.
The improved communication?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so there's a B6 before 15%, and I'm like, what is B6?
Oh yeah, I don't know what that is either. That's a typo. Because that got changed, so I'll double check that. So strategy
Should be by. Instead of hitting the Y, they hit the 6.
Oh,
there you go, yeah.
Okay.
Or miss.
yeah.
So can we, sorry, before we move all the way past the one above, under chronically absent, where we just say implement research-based strategies to improve attendance, is that enough information in that box about how we're gonna do it? I guess maybe.
Well, there's not a lot of other things that you can.
I didn't want to start listing
Yeah,
out all of the
okay.
different things. We have an attendance policy, and I think we talked about that
Yeah,
before,
okay,
and
sorry.
I got
Yeah.
worried about just
Sure.
kind of listing all of that out. So that's the only reason. I wanted to double check this other piece. Because I feel like I'm.
And we did get from our strategic plan group a lot of ideas around some strategies that would be helpful in general that we could fold under that in our own practice, I think, right?
Yes.
I just don't want it to be like we met, we did all of that work and it just says use research-based strategies.
So I put on priority 3, which they did not change under the second goal. I put under the strategies section, so they did not make these changes. Change the first bullet to provide meaningful data and transparency to the community about our decision-making processes. Instead of the data dashboard, creating a interactive data dashboard. And then the second bullet to change kind of based on Hutch's and Monica's feedback, provide effective communication to all stakeholders through regular email, board updates, newsletters, in-person community meetings, social media platforms, video casts, and podcasts. And then I feel like anyway, I'll go back through and double check that because I feel like a couple of these they did not.
So you were asking about the point system versus.
Yeah.
You're gonna do the same thing on both?
Yes.
Am I confused
I
about
noticed,
that?
oh.
What?
On the
What?
second box, communication, community survey, the font doesn't match with the KPI font that's up above.
I think it does. It's just a smaller size. So is that what you're saying? Make sure it's the same size.
Communication.
KPI looks bolded and communication does not.
Communication.
The first communication.
I just know where we are.
Makes
I'm
it look
lost.
like-
So
We're on page 10.
So if you
right now.
go back to the other page, so go back here. So you notice that this is big to indicate that all of these are KPIs, and then you notice I think this is a smaller font. I think that's what they did on the next one. So
Okay.
same thing here.
Communication needs to be bolded and bigger, is that what we're saying?
Well, or that
Oh,
just
wait,
needs to
should
be
I?
taken out.
Well, Wendy, really quickly though, the first goal, increase the retention of high quality teachers. Look at those strategies. Are those the right
Those are
strategies?
related. I
Provide
don't feel
meaningful
like they
data
are.
and transparency to community about making decisions.
I feel like those go to the next goal.
Is that about teachers?
No.
No,
They're not.
no, they messed that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Glad we're catching this. If we had printed this, people would have been like, you guys are not
Never
really
mind,
smart.
I'll bring it back to the next board meeting. They didn't follow anything that I asked them to do, so I got
They
it.
did like the aesthetic stuff, but
They did a few.
No, they only went through and redid the links, but they didn't notice all of the other explanations that I put in there, so.
And then on the very last page, like Will and Max are listed on the blue side and the white side.
Where would you like them?
I don't care. Just one side?
I'm fine having them on the left side.
The left, I think
Yeah.
the left.
And they were on the committee as well. I don't know if we need to double them up or not.
Well, there's other board members that were doubled up.
Lisa and I were on that committee
You have to
too.
put my name on there twice, it'd be.
I don't think.
I didn't.
You're
go.
really going for the goat. You got
Quarterback.
All-time quarterback.
Okay, this is picky. Can I be picky about something?
You're supposed to be.
Okay, on the page, and I keep going back to this, I'm sorry, you guys, somebody smack me. Where it says welcome, educate, inspire, I love that it's bigger, that's exactly what I feel like we need to go for, but they just feel so stinking far apart. I almost feel like I want them just condensed down a little bit.
Hey, Bonnie, go to the third page.
Page 3 or the third page?
Page
It's
two.
page
It's
2,
labeled
but
as
it's
page
page
2.
3 on this. It's page
Shauna, can you just help me with this?
right there.
Right
There we go.
there.
Yeah,
No,
Shauna.
No, like tomorrow, let's talk about it.
Shauna.
Does it feel like welcome, educate, inspire are kind of far apart?
And it feels like they go down to vision like it's all
so you
one.
can see girls' eyes and faces.
I thought the same
See
thing,
how
yes.
it's like mission and vision.
It just,
Yeah.
to me, it fills the space better than I tried it both ways.
But what?
I guess I was just gonna say, on that page then, like where it says mission and then welcome, educate, inspire, vision, would it, I don't know if it's a good or bad idea to put mission and vision in a different color then, do you know what I'm saying, so that
Yeah.
if your eye parses that this is the mission and then this.
There are two different sections. You got your mission.
Okay.
Just the header,
Like
not
mission
white.
would be orange, for example,
Yeah.
and vision would be green.
Okay, yeah,
Do
mission
you guys
feels-
do you guys trust Shauna?
Yeah.
Alright.
Mission feels far
Okay.
away from that too. Vision is like so close
Yeah.
to the vision. Mission feels far away, so maybe could we switch mission in the mountains so that we understand?
Yeah, so the mountains are up and then it says mission, welcome.
That's
Yeah. So that's what delineates the two.
yeah. I bet.
And then it's not right on the hat.
So when are we planning on filming these?
Today, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
No, yeah, we can do it.
We're okay.
I mean,
It's okay. Yeah. We'll keep working. It's all right. We'll get there at some point, right? Like we'll get there. Okay.
We need to do it before Rebecca's not on the board anymore though, because she wrote the letter. We could just replace it
I
with
keep
Jennifer's name.
thinking that, and I'm like, if this keeps going on, then you guys are gonna have to really redo it because I'm out. So.
No. I think this is so good and I think we're so close.
You could just have the letter. You could just switch our names, and then you
There
don't
you
have to
go.
write the letter, and just you can just put the name in there.
Can you remind me I don't remember the strategies related to that goal around teacher retention, but I bet I could look that up. I bet we have a past version of it that would show those things. So I'll do that on my own too. I think this looks, I
It's
think
getting
it
there.
looks
It's
amazing.
getting so close.
Yeah.
It's really getting so close. But onward and upward. We'll keep working. Well, someone will keep working, and then we'll keep critiquing it. We'll keep being picky about it. Okay. All right. Everybody feel okay to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're ready for our construction update, and y'all, we are only 4 minutes behind. It's like a little miracle. Yeah.
We'll keep you on track as well.
Okay. Awesome.
Hold on. Or I did my code.
Well, they did it. They just did it wrong. And I had Shauna help them since I've been done working with them. I'm just saying, Shauna help them get things straight.
Going back more just for me
Yeah.
to coordinator because my cousin's going to that GC tomorrow. But I don't know if I'll be able to be here for this week. Is that okay?
Okay.
Alright.
starting with Wasatch, both have had a lot of progress, especially on the site. Both are with them opening up in the winter. They have to get the work in before winter. So yeah, the sod is all in. Asphalt was completed today, so that's a big milestone. Okay, next. Roof, also another big milestone. This was taken yesterday, but this was the last remaining piece without roofing, which got done today. So the roof is all done. Landscaping continues outside. So the site work, the playground is going in. The pour and play will be going in about 3-4 weeks probably. Plantings are already arriving and going in, so landscaping is looking good. The outside is looking great. Next
Trees.
It already looks good.
Sod.
Where it was.
The green is really nice.
Oh, okay.
They're just trees.
Yeah, the trees will be
They're
fine.
coming in.
First floor, like we've talked about, is the furthest along. The ceilings are going in. These are the panels that are for sound absorption, and they will be painted white. That's kind of just on the main entry. Over to the doors that go through, and then it's just a regular ceiling, acoustical ceiling tile. Next. Cabinets are going in. I think they're looking good. They're sturdy. They're strong. They should work out well. Next one. This is going up to the second floor. So this is one of the main hallways on the second floor. So they got the ceilings in there. So we got the fire marshal approval to go ahead and put the ceilings in. So all the fire inspections for the building are done until the final. This is the kindergarten hallway. They got the ceiling in. This one is the kitchen. So putting the tile in, all the equipment is above is going in, and now the tile, so then the fridge and freezer will be coming in next.
Well, that wasn't there on Friday either.
No.
Yeah, it was just concrete. Okay, awesome.
Third floor, like I said, got fire approval, and so they can start putting up the ceiling up in there. The mechanical equipment is almost done. It is assembled now. They're just doing all the piping. The goal on this is to have this completely done, which they're on target to do so by the time the electrical gear arrives, so that they can fire it up immediately, start doing the testing, balancing, and get the building conditioned. The electrical gear is
10 days away.
still on track for 9/20 ship date.
That's
So
that's sooner.
ship date. But then we did expedite to have 2 drivers drive it from Texas, taking turns, so non-stop, straight shot here.
I've driven that before.
I have to.
So high.
I would not want to do it straight, but
No,
I mean,
not at all.
taking time, it's a 3-day trip. Is what it took me. So it should be a couple days, and it'll be here. And then this is up on Okama. The city is now putting in the barriers there at the top of that intersection. And I think that's about it. With Wasatch, it's going well. That electrical gear was the biggest critical piece. Everything else has been purchased, supplied, so I think there really is a good chance we can make our goal of January 15th.
So when they actually officially ship that part, we all have like a
I will-
celebratory text
Yeah.
message.
I will send a celebratory text message to the board.
Elevator
that-
Yes.
2.0.
It's like elevator 2.0. I just kind of really want to know when they actually ship it.
It's like an Elvis is in the building.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Or
It's
has
very
departed
serious.
towards
On
the
its way.
building.
Yeah.
It is
okay.
on his way.
I'll look forward to that. Okay.
Any other
Tracking
questions on Wasatch? Okay.
We should just have them add us as Find My Friends, and then we can just watch our Just put one of those like air trackers.
Air tag on it. We could make it fun with the school could be cheering for it. Check on it every day.
Where's our part now?
I think
I think that's gonna be more me than it's gonna be the state. Anxious about it.
Okay, Timpview. Next one. So they This is the dance cardio area. This is a gymnasium that was now closed. They had to get that done before they could start building the wrestling rooms and the classrooms on this one. So that's done. The roof is on the gymnasium already. This area is now in my opinion the critical path. This is the most important piece. What will be driving the schedule is the mechanical, getting the mechanical system up and running, and the mechanical room sits on the second floor right here. And so they need to get that in. As soon as they get that in, they can they can start to condition the space. The flooring for the gym is going to takes quite a while to have to sit in there before they can install it in a conditioned space. So they need to get the masonry up, get the joists on, start to get that enclosed, and then start to get the mechanical put on.
So sorry, Chuck, can you say again, the area that is closed in is the north gym?
This is the north gym.
And
right
so
here.
what is the area that's still really open? What is that going to be?
This is wrestling rooms on the first floor, classrooms up on the second,
Oh.
and then the mechanical room sits right over here on the second floor.
Okay.
They also need to get the joists on. They still need the crane here for joists to get the roof on, and then once they get the crane out of there, they can do the rest of the asphalt. They're already starting to grade for it, but the asphalt is planned. They plan to have the joists done, the crane gone toward the end of October, so we should still be okay to get asphalt in before winter.
And I just want to make sure I'm oriented right. This is where the old wing, academic wing, was, correct?
This correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Yep.
Well, and some of it is where the old dance and locker rooms were,
The old-
and they're just replacing the gyms.
The old library.
Where it was.
Okay.
So some of it is.
This is just looking the other way, just showing the landscaping is also going in. They're doing the same thing, trying to get it in before winter. And then they are still, the two paved areas that have already been paved, they're using this one as the staging, and they're still planning to turn that one over for the school to use end of this month.
And where the trees are going in, that's not where we're going to need to put building in the next phase? of
Correct.
our staging?
Yes, where there are the trees does not need to be torn out.
Okay.
Based on the current master plan. Where it comes back up here where you can't see, we are not putting any trees there, just small shrubs.
Okay.
We are still working through the details of all the costs and the credits from all of that, and we should be able to have that finalized hopefully within the next month. So yeah, this is the two parking areas. They're starting to do the side concrete work, the sidewalks, starting to grade to get this ready for asphalt. But I would assume they need to they still need to get utilities done and get the crane out of the way and then get all that paved. This will be the new entry coming into the commons here. So that'll be going up. You'll start to see masonry on that after they get done with that area. Next one. Softball field is moving along. You can kind of see the outline of it here, and then these are the dugouts and the back, home base. It's coming together, so that's on schedule. Just another view of that. Next one. Landscaping also got done over here on that south access road, so that's complete.
These high-def pics are like so, vibrant.
Like you added color to it. Look.
Yeah, like is this a filter?
No, it's just a drone. Next one. The temporary, this is concessions, that temporary sliding window. I haven't heard a ship date for the permanent one yet, but.
So that wood
hopefully it's soon.
holding it so it doesn't fall
that's
out?
happening?
Pretty much, yeah. They
So
said
inventive. What happened?
a month ago they said it would be a month. They installed the installer came, we were waiting for the glass cutter, they came and installed the wrong window. They installed one
it
with
so it
no
didn't
sliders,
Oh, I
which does not work for concessions for the
Oh, yeah, it's just a nice window where you can look in at the food.
Looks so good.
But not.
And want it.
So wait, so is it slidable at the moment?
So right now, yeah, these two parts slide. So it works for now. It should. A month ago they said it'd be a month with the new one.
There's been a home game already, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then they
We
had
have had
concessions?
Yeah.
That worked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next.
Someone was very creative. Hats off to that. No, for real, I mean it, 'cause
Yeah.
that made it work,
Yeah,
right?
it worked. This is inside the dance and cardio, just putting the joists on and getting that finalized, so the roof will go on that next. This is inside the north gym. They've already got a head start on getting the duct work in, so since that mechanical work is done, it'll be just ready to connect. And then these are just some hallways. This is down going in front of the dance cardio, and then this is the cafeteria over here and the new north gym. They got that roof on as well, so once they get that dried in, they'll start to clean this out. They'll fur out, hide this, and then between there and the other side is going to be display cases and things where it sticks out so far. That's one. That's it.
I listened to the podcast, Monica, with you. Tell the commons area. Did you have a question about that?
Oh yes, I did.
Yeah.
There are some teachers who asked the construction workers about the commons and when it would be up and running again. And they said that they're working on like electrical and just a few more intricate things, but they're also using it as a storage. So I was just wondering if the storage is withholding us from having access to the commons.
No, it is not. So that mechanical new mechanical room that I talked about feeds that portion of the commons area. And so they're using it as storage just because it is storage, but they're waiting on the mechanical system to get into there.
To get it up and running.
We tried to get the fire marshal to approve just that learning stair to open.
Yeah.
Because that's where the separation is.
Yeah.
But he said no. So
Okay. So when would that be again? Then to open
that'll
up?
be when it all opens. February 19th is what's the current schedule.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah.
How's the punch list for Shoreline going?
Shoreline, yes, the punch list is ongoing. It's getting less, but it's ongoing.
Yes, that's how it is.
The school is up and running. Tintview also, the cafeteria design progresses. We should have a full set of plans to review within the next few weeks. So that's moving ahead as well.
Is that what they charge us for the architects?
That one's 6 months.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Good.
Thank you, Chad. Any other
Thank you.
questions for Chad? We're good? Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Chad.
you so very much.
One more question.
Oh, just
Can
kidding.
you what the estimated February 19th?
February 19th.
Okay.
Yep.
For
Completion.
Okay.
Okay.
That's exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item 13, 3 minutes behind. We're whittling down a minute each.
Well, you know I'm good at this. This is gonna go fast.
So good at this.
I can get that. This is my strength.
Yes. You have a lot. This is
It's
a lot.
it's her superpower.
It's a core strength of
Unfortunately,
yours.
unfortunately, most of the policies are mine.
And now here we go.
I don't know whether it's my superpower.
You've got this, you've
but-
got this.
Okay, so I just tried to go through and identify kind of the main idea of each policy and then what the specific updates are. So policy 6060 is our audit policy. Just to review, the purpose is to evaluate internal controls and determine the overall effectiveness of these particular controls. We do have an audit committee. It is our finance committee, which Devin clarified with me, and then twice a year we bring in 2 community members that serve a 2-year term. So most of the time it's meeting as the finance committee, and then at least twice a year then we bring in these 2 community members. It is under statute that we provide training to those community members, and then these would be the responsibilities of that audit committee. So they obtain those reports, they ensure that any corrective actions are taken on any findings, they present information to the entire board, They receive any reports of investigation, so anything that we have to investigate internally, they're receiving that. Reviewing findings of external audits and ensure that any copies that USBE asks for, OLAG asks for, or the Office of the State Auditor asks for, that they get those. And usually Devin she's awesome about making sure that happens. And then independent financial auditors evaluate our system of internal controls and make sure that we don't have any misrepresentation in our financial report. And these independent financial auditors are chosen by the audit committee, business administrator, and director of accounting. And then we changed lines 105 to 106 from was requiring a licensed CPA firm that is actually not required under statute. It's a qualified accounting professional, and Devin explained in our policy committee that sometimes it's very difficult to find a licensed CPA firm that will take on this responsibility. So by expanding that scope, when we're looking for that, it gives us some more options for individuals. Certainly a licensed CPA firm could want that job, and then we could look at that, but it's not a requirement.
And we have used both a licensed firm and a regular person. It's just.
And then any questions or concerns, the changes to this particular policy are in alignment with state law and the model policy, and our recommendation from district leadership is to approve the proposed policy updates in the business meeting. And I just think it's good to review it, because I think it's good for our public to see that we have a lot of controls and things and reports and pieces that are in place where people are watching how we're spending the money that we have and making sure that we're following specific procedures and protocols. Any questions?
I did wonder if like that first paragraph should be like the 60/60 policy and the rest of it just be a procedure, or do we need to have it be a policy since 3 board members are required by law to be on that policy?
So the model policy has it all in there. So we could now the piece about 2 years with the community member is a procedure, but that would be a half-page procedure with a 4-page policy. So I mean, we can address it in both.
I didn't know it.
Now most of what is in there is in a model policy from the state.
Are we good? Okay. Policy 6210 is purchasing. There's actually a policy and a procedure that is tied to this. The purpose of this policy is really, it tries to lay out how we acquire goods and services in an efficient and effective manner, and also in a fair manner. So we have outlined a procurement process, which is outlined in the procedure itself. I just listed there some of the exceptions to the procurement process. Do not say it's hard to say that word many times. One of the most common ones that you'll see is like collective bargaining or employee contracts obviously don't fall under this. Sometimes we do a sole source, which is where only this vendor provides this particular service. Sometimes grants that are offered through the state office, those grants are telling us to use a particular vendor, and so we don't have to go through this procurement policy if we obtain that grant. Then it's under state. The state is overseeing that. The business administrator is the procurement official and supervises the procurement, always making sure that our taxpayers get the very best value. Reviews contracts, approves state change orders, make sure that any contracts are in compliance. This particular policy is in alignment with the state model policy. The procedure, we did have a fun time yesterday talking about the definition of debarment. There are specific provisions in place to debar someone or a company from consideration of being awarded a contract.
It's an excellent term.
It is a great term.
Debarment.
Outlines preferences that you can give in the bidding process for particular types of companies. And then talks about the differences between RFPs, RFIs, and RFQs. Which, if you really want to read about those, they're pretty awesome.
Or
and
if
then
you want a 2-minute small, we can give you that.
Yeah, we can do any of these. It also has purchasing and payment procedures, which has all of the approval processes that have to be followed as to when you need quotes, when you need bids, outlines how you can actually be reimbursed or pay for things. And then there is a new addition into this particular procedure about change orders, which you saw in pink. So any questions or concerns, we don't need the procedure to have board approval, but the proposed policy does need to be updated. And really, I just hope people look at that. We have a lot of processes in place, and anyone that is responsible for procuring anything for the district has to follow some really specific guidelines, and our business and finance department do a really good job of ensuring that we're doing that.
I have one comment on the policy 6210, just related to our earlier discussion around whether or not we need to vote on this, on a new position. In this policy, it's talking about purchasing specifically when it says all contracts and purchases of goods and services.
Yep.
So I feel like that is a pretty clear difference than hiring. I'm not saying we shouldn't hear about something, but I'm just saying I don't think we need to be voting on it based on this anyway, the language in here.
6212 is specific to procurement of construction. Updates, and Devin can explain these more, but it talks about a security deposit, a performance bond, and a payment bond, and that the Board of Education or BA may waive a bonding requirement. Do you want to add more to that? Because I have nothing.
Well, it's
on that
not
part.
something that cities, municipalities in general will follow the bond requirements more often than districts will. We do, like the security bond is more of a 5%, this is what you're going to give us to hold, just to make sure that you have motivation to get the project done. The payment and the performance bonds are more their insurance of if we don't, or they're not paying their subs, or if there's a problem with the project, that we can then file claim against the company. So it's really just basically an overall insurance policy that they provide. If it's a smaller project, we can waive that requirement but for the most part, most of the projects that we have that require that, we require them to have an insurance policy that lists us as another insured. So
That was I got none of that from reading that policy, so I really appreciate that explanation. So our recommendation is that we approve the proposed policy updates in the business meeting, and the procedure itself doesn't require board approval. Any other questions?
All three of those are on our approval list tonight, so I just realized.
I did notice that there were some titles at the end of sentences instead of their own lines, so
I will fix the
someone
formatting.
wanna check the formatting, yeah.
Is it on all of the policies, Terry?
Or just
No,
just
there
the
were
instruction
only like
line.
2 of them.
Was
but I
it
can't-
6212? I didn't see any in there.
I can't remember which
Okay,
ones.
we'll double check this.
I will go through them all with fine tooth comb.
7050 is a change to the school community council, and Jared's going to pipe in here. I appreciate his work on this. He under the role part, so the school community council, where it basically defines what that is and kind of gives an overview, and then does the purpose of a community council, and then it says school community council shall, and we eliminated a line one because it used to be that they had to develop the school improvement plan, and really it's the trust lands plan that is what the school community council does, and we've married those together. So the school improvement plans that we are doing follow all of those requirements for the school land trust plans, so that we don't have multiple plans operating and schools feeling super frustrated by that. And then on lines 32 and 33, which is number 5, advise and make recommendations to the principal regarding school improvement plans, safe technology use, and digital citizenship. PBIS, which we can spell out so that that makes more sense, to be positive behavior interventions and support. I have that already in my notes, and behavior plans. Really, school community councils run the help write that trust lands plan and determine the funding. And then they're an advisory committee to your administrators. You see that more lined out in the procedure. And then number 7, we've eliminated the literacy plan because that's no longer required under state law. So those are the changes to the policy. And then the procedure we went in and Jared is recommending that we just take this procedure and replace it with the current procedure because we already have the reason for the community councils and the purposes of community councils laid out. And then the composition and all of those pieces are pretty much the same. And we run all of the rules at the end is where we link all of that. And it just lines out composition, election, the trust lands plan, safe routes, which is important, K through 8, digital citizenship and safety, and then also lines out duties of the chair, what open meeting requirements there are, the meeting procedures, and how we train the councils and what you can use the funds for. So all of that's lined out very thoroughly in that procedure according to the model policy. So we just made those few changes based in state law. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Jared?
No, just our procedure and policy comes right from the model policy provided by USPD.
So our recommendation is to approve the proposed policy, but the procedure isn't required for the approval, but it aligns with all of these processes that are required under state law and really are very important for us to follow. It's an important piece of what we do with our communities. So that's it.
I have a question on the role number 3. Is that necessary for community council to be doing that?
On which one?
Staff development.
So it's funny you should ask that. Lisa asked the same question. They do that because in your land trust plan, most of the time there is some specific training that goes in terms of the how we're supporting teachers and staff. And so they are going to assist in that as part of that school land trust plan. Okay. So that's a great question.
And then the wording for 4 is odd. I was wondering why doesn't it say safe routes to school?
It's a great question. I think
we can update to that.
People use safe routes to school. If they don't
we'll change it.
Child routing plan.
Sounds like we're taking the child into pieces and routing them in different areas.
That was very odd to me.
You got it. We can change that. So when you go into business meeting, whoever wants to propose
Carrie
that,
can do that.
Yeah, we'll have Carrie do that.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
Look how fast that was.
That's pretty good. We have 8 minutes until we're supposed to start our next meeting. So are there any consent calendar questions?
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Terry.
Hold on. Are you? Well, I'll say mine.
You go. No, you. I might just show mine to her.
Okay. No, I noticed during some of the, I guess, was it personnel? Some of it said Dixon and some said Shoreline. I guess that depends on what day.
When the date was, I noticed that too.
Yes.
But I
I
looked at the
think
date
on the
and they were-
personnel stuff, I'm sure it was.
Okay.
It was when the system was changed over from Dixon to Shoreline, most likely.
Yeah. Just making sure that future is Shoreline, Dixon. And then I noticed on board docs, it should say Devin Daly is the business administrator.
What am I?
You are not listed as the business administrator.
Well, yeah, that makes too.
I think it also has an incorrect time
Yeah.
on the general page too. It says that the meetings are like in the mornings or something like that. We
Yeah.
post it correctly on the agendas, but on the overall thing, so.
Yeah.
We can work with it. Yeah,
And
so we
then
can.
the financial reports, should they be in public content?
Did I not put it?
No.
Okay, when I only have one screen and it's at 10:30 at night, I sometimes put it in the wrong spot.
No, it's not.
I'll go put it in the public spot right now.
And then, and there was only the combined warrants.
And it has all of them together, so the normal summary and the combined warrants are all in one file.
Okay.
I just figured having one file for you to look at might be easier, but if you would like to keep it
No.
separated.
No, that was Not my question, actually. My question was, what is the endpoint protection?
Endpoint protection, that's our filter, our internet filter, and
Okay. And then, crack seal,
yeah, we had 2 companies this year do crack seal
but it
replacement.
doesn't say which school.
There was like 8.
Oh.
It was just the general crack seal across the district that we do every summer.
And then the Google Workspace.
That's our annual fee for the Google Workspace that we did last year.
Not the update.
Nope, that's our annual now.
Okay. Alrighty. Good. Those are all mine. Did you guys have?
Really quickly, on the Gate 15, there's like these $500 stipends.
That's the
Those are
teacher's
grants?
supply money. So the teacher supply money, the elementary school teachers got doubled this year, so they got $500 for their supplies, and then the secondary teachers got $250, I believe.
Sweet.
So that's what all of those payments are. That's why there's so many of them. There's 800 teachers. So.
Yeah.
Well, right, yes.
And then I saw that we had 2 back-to-back payments on like the same day. I think it was maybe to Usable Life, and they were both like 25,000.
So one was from one fiscal year, one was from another fiscal year. So the same.
Because I was like, are we splitting our 50
Nope.
into 2?
No.
Anyway,
One was
I
for the
figured.
teachers, and one was for all the rest of the people that got paid in August. So that's a good catch, because it's we date the checks that we cut in June and August, because they're for August payroll.
Okay.
Anyone else?
One more
Oh, sweet.
thing for, it's not for you.
Oh.
On the calendaring.
Upcoming board calendar items?
Yep.
Okay.
It says that the fall graduation, fall commencement is at IHS, but isn't it at Provo High? Did I read that somewhere?
It is at Provo High.
Just in case someone looks at,
Okay.
I highly doubt anyone looks at it. I mean, we all love to look at it, but
Yeah.
just in case someone
Is it
probably needs to
on
be
our
warned.
board calendar?
Yeah,
correctly?
it's the upcoming events, it says IHS.
Right, but I mean on our
On the
actual
Google
board, on our
calendar.
Google calendar, is it on there correctly, October 2nd? Let's see. Yep, it says Provo High School there,
Okay.
so that's good. Okay, great.
Business meeting.
Okay, all right, then let's take a motion to adjourn, and we'll try and reconvene in the PDC. We'll give ourselves 7 minutes. We'll start a couple minutes late. Is there a motion to adjourn our study session?
Oh no.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Hall. We are adjourned, and we'll reconvene in 7 minutes.
So you guys have a report today, and you're not really, you haven't really gotten into it yet.